All right. So it's not getting. Hey, what's up, Brian? Does that work? Let me pause this and see. It looks like the. Huh. It looks like the audio isn't going out through the stream. Windows audio. Can't hear you. Okay, so why is this so weird? It should be fine. So that's that one. Say something again? Excellent, excellent. Okay, so that I feel like should have gone through. Oh, is it? Is it still tied to that? Oh, maybe I didn't change it over. Settings. Did you hear that now? No. Okay, great. No, it is supposed to be that one. Yeah. Okay, so you should be able to hear yourself now. If I did this right. Okay, well I'm gonna turn on this then. No, it's still. What is happening? I'm so confused. Okay. I'm not getting an echo. Oh, that's why. That's why. Okay. Turn you on. And now it's gonna get both unless I turn that off. Nope. Uh, wait. Yeah.
Now there's an echo on the screen.
Okay. So now there should be no echo.
With the women's team
There is no echo on
no
the
big deal.
stream. Oh, but I do hear
Definitely one of the
myself.
top, like,
There
two
we
or
go.
three teams, knowing that I'm gonna be
Okay, I
fully
figured it out. I
competitive
forgot how I
tomorrow, I would take
reconfigured
a little
it
bit
last
easy
time.
today. Get it through. Even if you
And
go
this
in
is-
6th, 7th place, you're in an earlier heat. You still gotta
Yes.
put up a
However,
competitive time
there's no
tomorrow.
video on the
More of a
screen.
dry
No,
road,
there's
more
not.
of a
I'm
road.
just
Have a good day
getting the
tomorrow.
audio
Make it
set
there.
up.
And you know,
Yeah, because I heard Connor's voice, and that's
Right.
why I didn't know if that was
Carl, the fact it's looking to be
supposed to be there or if that
what can
was
that do to times? Do you
not,
think we'll
or if that was
Right,
you
right.
setting something up.
Where do you see
I
people
gotcha.
finishing on average?
I don't think there's any chance of breaking a record this year.
Cool.
I mean, you see the lack
Okay.
of experience with only 3
Now,
or 4 races
I've
this
got
spring.
Jeremy's handy cheat sheet.
For somebody to break a record,
So I'm gonna
they
jump
have come
to
together, like the planets
17.
aligning with the pushers,
What
the
is it?
mechanics, the
1755,
driving
so just
that we
before.
haven't seen in 6 or 8 months. So
I'm gonna jump to there. And then, bam.
30 or 40 pound buggy.
I don't know why there's
itself
the black bar on the
weighs everything,
bottom.
but
All right, ladies and gentlemen, clear the course. I see a
A little
thumbs
annoying.
up from Elon, so it looks like we should be getting ready to go in just a moment.
First heat, exhibition. Robo Buggy
I
timing
should
heat.
probably.
The day is here, Robo Buggy.
Say
This
again?
is well, not Robo-Buggy. This is Robo-Buggy the organization with Transistor the buggy.
Right.
This is their new build
get a
from
good stride on that
2015,
thing and let it, the two-handed bump uphill one.
Yeah.
and it is not rolling autonomous because
I got about 20 seconds to go on.
not quite prepared for that.
Smooth transition right there. heading
No,
into
they weren't quite
turn
ready for it yet. It was a very neat shell,
This
though.
is where
They did a nice job with the
starts. No
carbon fiber.
driver in this buggy.
Obviously, they didn't care so much about making it the cleanest thing ever. They made it a chalk surface, which was kind of fun. So they
And this will give us a good chance to check out
repainted
the
on
conditions
it
the road today,
frequently.
too. You can see it's kind of
Nothing wrong with chalk.
No, not at all.
Lets you, especially if you don't need a driver inside. You can make a face on the front.
It's eerie. It's kind of scary.
Hold this.
Amazing thing is how smooth this line
Rachel Brown is saying the video audio is pretty quiet, but I'm not sure if that's because the actual video audio is quiet.
The actual video audio was. I do keep it down. Yeah.
Going
Hey, Rachel, how's it
smooth there
going?
through the stop sign.
That's a little wide.
Yeah,
think
I always
wide
try and make
for
sure that we can
those
be
of
heard
the
very
Buggy team.
clearly
We'd
over
be
it.
criticizing them for taking that line.
And I think
Robo Buggy, you know, for this is one where really you want it to roll, go through, and now the all-important shoot. This is a challenge.
Well,
for
hello to
here,
everyone
so
joining
see how
us
Robo Buggy
for
goes
this
as it
heat.
comes
there are
in,
about a
See,
dozen of you.
trying to take its
as we
line.
She's not going wicked
as we
fast,
kick
but
off
still
2015,
going
you can
fast.
see the road conditions
It's complicated.
a little on the wet side. So Robo Buggy rolled at 8 a.m. on Friday. This is Friday, right? Yeah, this is definitely Friday because the roads are this wet.
Yes.
Robo Buggy rolled at 8 a.m. and then there was an hour-long delay, so the races didn't actually start until 9 a.m.
He's gonna be tired after this one.
Yep.
Especially because it's trying to find its way through the minefield of the road.
What did they draw on the front of their buggy? Can you tell?
On the front, I believe it's the RoboClub logo. Next time I take a
The
look.
thing in
You guys can
Yeah.
see these badges.
Yes.
the Robo Club. Wait, is the Robo Club logo the one that I thought looked like a cross, or was that Atlas?
I don't know what the Atlas logo looks like. You might be thinking of the RI logo,
You
the
know, I
Robotics
thought the back
Institute
heels
logo,
were what I was hearing.
which has,
I'm thinking-
I think, a similar
You can
element.
see right what that buggy's taking.
I'm thinking whatever one we were originally using in that design.
I don't know.
There was one cross, and I think I was told that it was one of the robotic buggies, but I don't know. I don't remember which one.
And that's one of the things that I'm concerned about for a team going fast.
I don't know.
They'll catch air, lose that grip.
Oh well,
Yeah.
go figure.
Looks like they've transitioned now to Hill 5.
As you can see, CMU TV was getting ready also, so they don't have a clock on this heat. So, don't know what RoboClub's time is. I guess in theory we could figure it out from the video, but I didn't think about it.
Yeah, what else is
I
there?
actually don't even have notes on this heat, so I must have just ignored this completely when I made my notes. But solid heat, no crashes, very teleoperatedly well.
Give a round of applause for Robo Buggy,
Yeah.
the driverless buggy. You know, you think you've seen it all here at CMU, and then
And there's Connor applauding the
So,
team.
we're
As you will
so
notice,
excited
Connor.
to be here, ladies and gentlemen.
I think that's just a
Raceday
generic buggy shirt.
getting underway.
I can't tell quite what he's wearing.
10 minutes or so, getting started with the women's heat.
I mean, it's
So
obviously a buggy shirt of
let's
some
do some
kind.
intros there.
It's one of the
What are you
sweepstakes
guys
shirts
expecting
from
to see? You know,
2013, I
SDC,
believe.
such a dominant force over the past.
Okay,
At
so
least
it's
it's
a
one of the
sweepstakes
logos
shirt.
from 2013.
More of
Oh,
the
Wilson
same.
is ex-pub
You will-
buddy.
What are you guys looking for?
You can start on this one.
And you will notice that Connor's shirt will change over the course of these 2 days.
I
Yeah.
haven't heard all
Oh,
that
yeah,
much
this was
about
the big
SDC's
change
women's
year,
team.
wasn't it?
I know that Fringe is going to have a very strong team this year. They have,
It
8
was. Yeah,
three-time
well,
18
this was the one that
points,
happened
SDC
kind
team,
of
so they got a lot of depth on the women's side. Bisa always
spur of the
works well.
moment. I think 2016 he was
I
back
think
on and
Fringe
kind of
can
planned it
challenge
out a little
SDC
more.
top to bottom
Okay.
on the women's side this year.
This one is better because
Gotcha.
it just kind of.
I would not be surprised to see
Gotcha.
that.
He had, I forget, he
Yeah,
put on his
so,
Apex shirt and then he
about
had
what's
another
coming
one, I
in
forget
here.
from
agree,
who.
there's some teams
And he
that
put that
have
on,
very
and
solid for
then
the past few years.
became a
Fringe,
thing.
their buggies tend to get through
Although I
the
think he
turns, they're
thought he
really,
was
very
wearing,
solid.
I think he
You don't
thought
see
he wore a
those,
Spirit one that he
Fringe
actually
spin or
didn't
Rex
at one
with those
point,
ones.
and
Fringe only has trouble when his buggies around them that are falling apart. So
Who knows?
Fringe can
yeah,
get through the
very
course
good point. This is Race Day
fast
2015,
and be very
starring
consistent.
Allison
They've
Lim,
had for years.
driver of CIA's
Yeah.
Ascension.
Again, I said the CIA,
Absolutely.
the CIO is going to be there.
That's
Some of the
that's
things
more
I
a
think,
finals day than
you
a
might see
prelims day.
surprising. I could see Pika do something surprising.
somebody's
Spirit do something
cutting
surprising.
the lawn out for that
Apex
side.
be kind of a wild card in
Not that
STC,
she,
again, with the ability
not that
for
she
them to
didn't
go
also
fast
have
with their buggy.
her
What do they
work
do
cut out for
today?
her on
To
day
keep
one.
themselves competitive, get the buggy through the shoot turn, and then stay to day 2. That to me is going to be the biggest question to the day.
And I want to make a quick point here to what he was saying
Oh,
about
yeah.
Pika. This year
But
they're going to be
if
rolling
anyone out
in
there
the
was
racing
involved
class.
in Race Day
They're gonna have
2015,
they're gonna have
to
their
be here,
fastest
so it's
buggies,
not
they're
just
gonna
Ben
make
and I
them and
talking.
help them out a ton.
Interesting, last year,
feel free
they
to
ran
jump
very
in
grand
on
banshee on
Discord.
their A team, and it
Absolutely.
didn't make it through the turn.
Rachel, this was
So
a
we
big
don't
one for
get to
you, as
see-
I recall as well.
That was last year, right, Tom?
Over on the men's side.
You were
Yeah,
women's
yeah,
A,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. They're running Banshee for both men's and women's A, so they're trying to be competitive on both sides. And
Unfortunately, I did not create a
sort of the
trivia for this one, though I
as a strategy, I
could
think it's a good
maybe
idea
whip
to give
something
your-
up.
your
I could just
competitors
randomly throw out
competitive,
trivia questions,
roles
and you guys could try to answer them.
quite as fast with a full
I don't know what
show.
I have about
Get sort of a
2015, but that doesn't mean I can't come up with something.
Sure.
You know, speaking kind of of the
I mean,
previous one, right? This is one of the
I wouldn't
first
stress
full
yourself, but yeah, it looks like
Saturday
McHugh's in.
we've had in quite a while.
We don't have any giveaways for this one, though.
The teams haven't had a ton of opportunities.
Yes,
No, and I gotta.
this year.
For those of you watching, the winner of the
Looking for
the
today
trivia challenge from Virtual Race Day was Ilan Bauer.
Who's Apple?
who
One of the things that is a great
no,
tool
but
to have is to go to
we
a
solved that
TV
solution.
stream
He
show
was
today on
Elan,
Friday,
so
and they can
admittedly,
actually
I am
rate
kind of
themselves.
assuming
You can
that's
look at
Elan Valor,
transitions
but
from
it
1
would
to
make
2.
sense.
You can look at when they bump and how they get that exchange.
Yes,
I
he
would expect a lot of
4%.
Hill 3 pickups to be really bad today. And then they can look at that going into
Oh,
day 2
Elan
and
is
say,
on.
Yeah.
Hey, Elan,
pick it up
you
on
you
street.
you won
Where's
trivia
the
last
number gonna
week.
go on more race
I'm
day
gonna
speeds?
send you an email
The
because
things you
we
can
got a
learn
prize
from
for
today,
you.
go fast, be
Uh,
safe, get to day 2.
You got
Use it
74%
today
of the
to tweak those
questions
little
correct,
things
which
like
was the
what
high
direction
water
you wanna
mark.
have on the push
I think
pull.
Connor was
It's gonna
second
go
with
tweak your Hill 3
70%,
pickup and make
and
it
then
better.
everyone else, and then
Absolutely. One other thing that's really going to help.
Elan confessing he cheated at trivia.
Oh, no.
Make sure that
Connor.
he's getting
Well, that's what
points
happened with the actual
on the
winner.
first day.
Well, kinda.
Mistakes with your lines, either on the push off up here at the top of the
You
hill,
cheated
or
at
the shoe turn.
Wait,
for
we?
okay.
Who's we?
You go in the next day.
Yeah, I don't know who we is, but if you cheated and only got 74% right, I mean, you got to work on your cheating skills.
Getting ready to go. So it's
Just saying,
really
like if you were
try to
taking a
keep out
class that's like
push.
borderline C.
Very good. All right, so we'll be getting underway here in a couple
Confession,
minutes.
I
This
cheated
will be
once on a
this first
test,
heat.
AP Physics, back in 11th grade. It was the worst grade I ever got in the course. I cheated by programming in the physics equations to my graphing calculator, but then when I looked at it during the test, I did not know what those equations were or how I had translated them into a graphing calculator text.
Well, yeah, Elon, if you want to hop into the Discord and join the live stream PC channel, you can get your thoughts. All right, I should skip ahead because I forgot that these are not already playlisted.
And we don't need any clever comments for you. You can literally just say whatever you're thinking, and it doesn't even have to be about race day.
Very true.
It could be.
Yeah.
So definitely.
Connor's already changed shirts to a different sweepstakes shirt.
This year going on Banshee, they're going to be.
Oh yeah, they had transitioned to making that the standard logo now.
I don't think it's up to the quality of SDC or.
I think that was pretty soon after 2013 when they got the logo in the first place.
But I think that Pike is definitely going to be up
Danny
there.
Kane.
I feel like saying that it was 2013 or so that they got the one with the thorn.
That's when Danny
This
made
one
the
thorn.
news.
Some consistency in the women would be a good way to do that.
I only know that because there's he has a portfolio of 2013, and he has like 3 or 4 from that year that he messed around with, and this was one that
SDCC's in lane 1 and they're pulling
picked
away.
and
Looks
then
like
stuck with.
CIA is in lane 2.
And,
And
it's really a fantastic
make it out
logo.
of time.
That's a
He
shame.
did a great job there.
So as you can see, Race Day 2015 is now underway, and the roads are not much better than they were an hour before. The teams the lead truck and follow truck did drive the course to try and dry it a little bit. At least one team brought a leaf blower out to the chute to dry individual patches. But that course is incredibly wet. Here we have SDCC with Bane, driven by future course record holder Annie Black in her freshman year. You will learn a lot about her and her driving skills coming up very, very shortly.
She gave an early shove off on there too, and it didn't look it was.
Meanwhile, behind her, you've got CIA D with Impulse, which I believe was the mechanics heat, and Fringe D with Beacon was supposed to be in this heat but scratched, and I'm not sure if I remember the reason, but doesn't matter.
Things on there that could really distract a driver.
Minute 16 stop sign time, one of the important splits we always look to in these races, so that's something.
All right, watch the chute turn
today. And here we go. First chute turn of the day. Coming up in just a moment. Clearing the flag. Coming through. A little bit of a wobble. Not the best conditions. And
ooh, nice save. Nice save.
Yeah.
Great driving right there. And SDCC is through. Coming over now into the hill.
And then a very
transition.
slow
Fair bit of speed coming up there, even with that little bit of wobble.
A very slow.
Yeah, and she did a really good job in there. She's going to have a lot of confidence. Right now, I'm sure her heart is pounding as she's getting into the hill three push. But she started that turn. It started to slide. She eased it, and then when she got the rust,
the video's a
that
little
slide
bit.
and recover. It's a really good job of her driving.
Not terrible.
She's going to be really jazzed to get there.
But you can already. You can already hear Connor and Andy kind of talking about Annie Black and her save there. Gotta love the outfit on Hill 3 for CIA.
Shannon Lee, she was one of our drivers.
You know, we'll have to get down to our sideline report.
I believe that is a Pikachu costume.
With
on race day. You know, you gotta love the C teams, the D teams.
It's a good choice.
I think that's Pikachu. We have a Pikachu confirmed
There you go.
here.
We'll
They
confirm.
made the transition 3 to 4. SDC now
I believe that makes 2 different Pokemon that CIA or CIA alums have put out on the course in recent years.
Somewhere around 3-minute 3:05.
Yeah, and last year
think
they were
it's been any
259, and
alums.
if they're right around there, I mean, it's possible to get a day 2 with that.
Yeah.
I admit,
The roads being
well,
wet.
you're
This
right.
is a
I don't know
freshman driver.
who,
It's her first time driving. That save is something
because
that
Rika's usually the Beanie Baby, right?
Yeah, she's right there actually.
She pulled it off beautifully. So she was able to do that now.
Yes. So there you see the Beanie Baby on the bottom. So I forgot about that. Last year or 2 years ago, there was a, what do we say, Charmeleon? I think it was Charmeleon was on the course, and I don't know who.
Rika, yeah, that's true. I don't think she's pushed as Charmeleon now.
No, that was as an alum, I assume.
Yeah.
I don't actually.
No, that was her. That was Rika.
Was it?
Yeah.
See, I assumed it was her, but that's because she's the one who dresses up in costumes other than Scotty Dog or the pierogies on the course.
There is.
Yeah, she has a
it's
few
a
characters.
picture of the
Charmeleon is
clock
one of her
in the
more recent ones
Someone standing in front of the clock.
that she's been
But the
wearing.
CIAD obviously went out there
And
for
she has brought a
fun, and it
friend
should be
who's
fun.
done
You
an
know, D teams
owl
typically are not going to be the most competitive team, so you go because you love it and
outfit.
throw on the Pikachu outfit.
We'll get. I forget if that was 2018 or 2019. We'll obviously get to that in a few weeks. But the you know what? It had to have been 2019 because I just remember in the booth with Will and my discussion over whether it was Charmeleon. Like we couldn't tell at first for sure which Pokemon it was, but the two of us were kind of
my first look at it
debating it, and then Erin was in the booth. She goes, "You know you're both grown men, right?"
It's a very Aaron thing to say. It's like, yes, of course we know. That's why we got to figure this out.
It started sliding, but actually
She gave us quite the stare, and then we followed that up a little bit later as we were debating which pierogi.
Yes.
I think it's just going to bode well for her as a freshman.
That was
She
one of the best
responded-
conversations.
I got 15, 20 rolls under my belt.
Yeah.
Even that's the
Gotta
worst
cut.
conditions it's gonna be.
I think that's all exhibitions too.
It can only get dry.
Exhibitions are so much fun.
Oops. Skip
I
too
gotta
far.
say.
Here on the hill 1.
I do love exhibitions.
Just
They
so we don't
are
miss it like the last
fantastic.
time.
This Fringe B team is going to be rolling, I believe it's Balius. I've been calling it Bales for the last couple of days. It's a difficult name to pronounce for me, but it's a new Buggy. I don't know how it's going to roll.
So we'll cut out
I
the
really haven't
introduction,
heard
or
too
not
much
Will.
about it, so
Jeremy
this
cut
is
out the
gonna be
introduction,
interesting
so
to
it
see
looks
if it, brings them
So at this point, we were
back to
providing Will with the
build
rosters.
quality.
I can't wait to see the
Looks like
9-wheel
they're
buggy.
I figured as much. I'm admittedly not listening to the things that they're saying, so I don't know if they've said which teams are there. But this is Spirit A with Inviscid in lane 1, Fringe B with Balius in lane 2, and Fidelt A with their first race ever rolling Perrin.
Yeah, this is what
They repainted
I'd like
Perrin.
to see out of a Spirit
Right.
A team.
The Rubicon
Got
looking
just about
very
a
right.
19.5 second on that.
The Rubicon looking Perrin, yes. I honestly think it's just Fidel's. Well, yeah, it's definitely Fidel's color scheme and like standard pattern, but
Right.
at the same time, yeah, this one looks identical to Rubicon pre-conversion because it's got the double stripe on the top too, and it's like the exact same color. The only difference is the wheels.
And this is apparently the heat where Balius breaks on a pothole, according to Dia. So we'll keep an eye out for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, this is a fun one because again, look at the roads; they are not dry. And Spirit, the early to mid 2000s, the early to mid 2010s, is not the team you want rolling on wet roads,
Very much.
which I believe we're about to see. Although, because also Balius rolling way faster than at least visually.
This might be a little bit of excitement here. Clearing the flag.
It's hard to tell.
Tight
And
turn right there.
Inviscid. Yeah.
Spin, bam, and then keep watching as
Fringe, nice
through.
driving
Pay
right there.
attention to this. She had to swerve left.
Ooh,
Number 1, bam. Pothole number 2.
end right there,
They
just
gotta do
hitting a
something about these
pothole.
roads.
I was wrong. There's only one pothole on this one.
Getting pretty crazy.
Only one pothole, but she hits it
Fringe is
twice.
in the clear. Fringe.
Wait, hold on.
Probably is
now,
under
starting
reverse.
up
Ooh,
at
looks like a
hill
cover
3.
popped off. or just wasn't
so
on
it's
to
pretty
begin with?
disappointing. You saw Spirit had the same troubles right at the shoot turn. As soon as she put the turn on with the smooth pavement, she started to fishtail a little bit, and then
Yeah, I have in my note it hit 2 potholes, but I only saw
She
1.
just couldn't keep it in there.
Did
she
you
popped
see 2?
twice.
While they
Hey,
can
it's me.
finish, and it's good for them to practice.
I should grab my beer.
Definitely has a justification to try to ask
Oh
for a
yeah,
free roll.
yeah. Ben sees himself.
right.
You know.
Was in the shoot turn. She's clearly
Drinking time.
I gotta be right
It's good
back.
for them to finish it. Everyone gets a practice
Grab
run,
a beer.
but I would expect to see them again later.
I haven't seen
Back
the
in the
final
room.
yet. I wonder.
They might have break.
And Will's comment here
So they can hit the break
that
flag
again
when
I
they
have
way
I
like
have
that.
the actual video muted, so I don't. McHugh,
So
it already broke.
Probably a break flag.
I don't. You might not be live, but like as she comes
the other way, but she
into
can't do a safe
the
stop, it looks like.
after she passes
Now the
Spirit
transition to Jacqueline
in the
Young
chute,
here on Hill 5. They're at
the
a
front left
240
wheel
right now,
slams
so
into a pothole.
expect something probably in
One of the ones that would end up being paved the following year, but I mean,
given a little
Fru
bit
Street
of,
was a
excitement
disaster in
so, like
2015.
you said, Andy, probably not the last we're seeing of Fringe B today.
And as Will said on the broadcast, it's a pothole to a pothole combo, which is really, you know, if when they come out with the Buggy game, I'm hoping that there is some form of pothole combo. Like, oh, you hit multiple potholes, you get an extra 10 points. That'd be fun. Nice way to make you feel a little better about things.
Nice run out of them.
The broadcast obviously does not have a clock, so I am going to cheat and pull up the results from 2015. Because that's the benefit of rewatching something 5 years later, is you have all the results. So Fringe B, a 3:11.6. That's a pretty slow time. But obviously, when a wheel breaks because of a pothole, you can't go all that fast.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it there too. And we were talking about the wheels. You know, the smaller the wheel you get, you can have less contact with the ground. So on a slightly slick day, something like that, you have less.
By 10 points, you mean weekend in the shop with itchy forearms.
So that's a risk
I mean,
you take. You want to go fast. That makes you go a little bit faster. But then,
but
you hit a
I don't
condition
think
like
you
and
get
can't
that.
recover.
I guess if we did like a, you know, if we made Buggy the board game. Speaking of which, there was a Buggy board game in Tartan at some point in time.
I think the girls wear mouthpieces.
Yeah,
now,
I forget.
and because of that,
Okay.
that one right there.
If you follow Balius, here you go. Bam, there's the broken wheel. And I think she hits a second one as well. But
all the drivers wear helmets, goggles, gloves, and now they have mouthpieces. And I think I forget who just told me they gave credit for putting mouthpieces in these girls, and that's probably why. I mean, that thing's bone shattering.
Yeah. So, you know, hopefully things clear up.
Yeah, one of the smallest
bit,
additions
given
that
these
came
conditions, probably going to be seeing
more
some
recently
excitement
was
throughout.
mouth guards that makes a huge.
I really like these heats. Another exciting heat here: SIG
Shocked that
A,
wasn't a
Apex
thing
B,
pre-2009.
CIAC. What are you guys' thoughts here?
it's both important and also something that I completely forgot about when I tried to interview a driver later, because back when I was doing it, they didn't wear mouth guards, so you could just have conversations with the drivers in the buggy. It's a little harder when they're wearing a mouth guard.
I don't know if that was an injury reason or if they
You know
found
what,
out
Elon?
she was faster.
What are you doing? Get in here.
But they have, definitely more depth this year than in the past.
Who are you talking to?
Elon, who's in the chat, Matt Slide.
Around the same. They're going to be rolling Phoenix again as well, which rolled on.
He was
damp
the.
roads the morning in
Were
the
you
fog
sweepstakes
last
chair this year, Elon?
Definitely saw a bit of a fishtail out
This
of
was
that.
the
Oh.
95th?
I would,
I think so.
keep
You
my
said
eyes
Elon?
on
I don't know why I thought you said something different.
This
I
squad's
don't
first
know
for
why you heard anything
CIAB.
different.
We have Hill 1, Alex Miklos. Hill 2, Elise Milligan. Hill 3, Sarah Wingett. Hill 4,
yeah, that's what I
Aaron
thought.
Dawson. Hill 5, Dana Peck. And
Ah,
your
so
driver,
to answer the
Allison
question
Guerrero.
about
Next up,
did Fringe make
Apex
day
B
2 and
on
repair
Hill
it,
1. We have Shreya
Dia's
Nika.
answer
Hill 2,
is
Nicole Tom. Hill 3, Alessandro
somewhat
Welch.
correct.
Hill 4,
I mean, she's
Maya
Fringe, so she would know
Owen.
these things.
Hill
But
5,
Fringe didn't notice the problem until
Veronica,
after the men's
Jamie
heats.
Lara, and the driver,
The team made second day
Rachel
because the
Schmidt.
buggy free rolled so
And
poorly.
finally,
That is
CFA
actually not entirely
on
true.
Rebecca Walsh.
The women's
Hill
B
2,
team
Phoebe
did
Hay.
qualify
Hill 3,
for finals.
Alexandra Mirsky.
However,
Hill
because
4,
of
Maya Schneider.
according to
Hill
our notes,
5,
a
Katie Lynn.
scheduling
Driver,
conflict with the
Madeline
pushers,
Finn.
they withdrew
We're
their
giving away
entry
here
on
shortly
Saturday.
The third of 7 women's heats, pending rerolls, which we imagine we may see
Yeah, my sources tell me that in the shoot watching Spirit, the quote was, it looked like they were on
yes.
ice.
Dia was
It is
referring
pretty
to the
wet down
men's
there, and
team
it's really
with the
really
fact that they
pushing
didn't
what
make
can
it.
do with the buggy.
Yeah, the men's B team was very
So,
disappointing
we'll
this
see.
year,
I'm
although
not
the
confident
fact
any
that they
team
had
can
a
make it through there right now.
How do you think that affects
broken
the
wheel does
psychology,
kind of
going forward?
explain
You
why
see
their time was
two
so
balls,
bad, which
two bits
I
of
was a
sort of
little
spin
curious
right
about
there,
when I was
as
writing
you
about
see
this
right,
this past week.
drivers up here.
Mark Estes will come and pummel you for staying.
I don't know why Allison was the only one who could drive that buggy.
Just waiting
It
for
makes
the
no
gap
sense.
there.
But any other time,
But yeah,
another
they're
driver-
the 311. I mean, just to give you an idea of how slow 2015 was, and I don't know,
Well, the good thing is going to
you
be
could
watching CIA
you could
and see how
make
they
the case that
perform
it's
here.
because of the road conditions for Friday, but
Sigap
Saturday
driving
it was warm, it
For a
was
buggy.
dry, and it
rushing
reached
out
like
there.
low 70s by the end of the day.
Oh no,
And
Sigap didn't make
2015
it out.
is the slowest race day that we've had in the last
So
like 40
disappointing.
years. So that 311.6 time that Fringe put up put them sixth on day one, which is crazy to me. 311, sixth place.
Last year, and that's probably the only reason that she's on the B team. But she looks like she's well healed up.
Pretty good speed.
So here we go, Heat 3,
Oh, no,
the debut
please.
of the year for CIA driver Allison Lim, who's in Ascension. Ben, do you have the ability to rewind it all? Because I do want to point out, I don't know if it's easy to do with the full length stream.
Probably taking this.
But if you can go back to like the
Well, the good thing is
yeah.
going to be watching CIA and see how they perform here.
So there's a couple of things to note here because I was, not paying attention. SIGAP, if you look at their truck in the background, they're coming out now, but the follow truck has already started moving, so they're out of luck. That was SIGAP A, by the way, so sucks to be them. But here, this is CIA B with Ascension in lane 3 and Apex B with Phoenix in lane 2. But watch the 1-2 transition for CIA here. If you weren't paying attention to it, the ultimate sign of poor road conditions.
Yep.
Not quite the same as Spirit.
Oh no.
I think that was right
Watch
on
Hill
the
2's
paint,
pusher.
The wetness, the Hill 2 pusher just fell down.
Goes down.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, if a pusher can't even get traction on these roads, how do you expect the buggy to?
But a solid recovery there, at least.
Right, I'm gonna try the live thing.
So I feel bad for the Hill 2 pusher. That probably hurt a decent amount.
Yeah, she did the best she could to recover, but even as she was bumping up Hill 2, she actually slipped her hand off the push bar, too.
That guy is, thankfully, stayed on the grass.
Again, this is what I think is more practice. When they come out and practice, they need a little bit sketchy conditions for at least push practice. Some of those things go away, but see the debris in here, too?
Yeah.
That doesn't help wheels or anything as you're cruising down the street.
What is going on? Why did I just hear
That
broom?
being said, stop time,
110?
stop sign time, 110, that's pretty much in line with what we've been seeing today.
And she's rolling pretty quick.
Yeah.
Again, CIA is figuring
Ben,
a
are
few
you
things out
streaming
this year.
video on
Like, pretty
Discord?
good rollers.
Yeah.
Apex.
I'm not that far behind.
No, I'm just reacting differently than you are.
That's clean.
That's fair.
That was good.
Are you
No
probably
troubles
dry on
there.
that one?
No real loss of
Although,
speed
yeah,
heading into the Hill 3, and looks like they're going to pick this one up pretty deep.
I am not getting audio out of Discord. I am only, in theory, getting audio out of YouTube, which is a different computer, which I have muted right now.
Practice helps them in conditions like today.
Gotcha.
Yeah, ton of speed in there. And,
No, at least you should be able to see
that's what they like to see.
what I'm reacting to.
Transition to Hill 4. Looking up right there to Aaron Dawson. And, maybe CIA doesn't look
Yeah, because otherwise you're reacting to it even later on the YouTube stream.
Yes, that is true.
Well, we'll
Doubles
see.
everything.
Last year their B team ran a 324, so they weren't really even competitive there. But
Let's see if I can
we'll
find
see how their
a
B
stop
team can
loss.
finish up today.
That should exist.
Hill 5. But overall, through the shoot.
As you can see shortly, Apex B closed the gap significantly on Hill 4, but not enough. I believe we have Connor? Do we have Connor?
What's up?
Hey, what's up, Connor?
Hey, boys.
Connor, both in the broadcast and the less broadcast booth.
So here's a question. When you see yourself in the broadcast booth on the live chat,
every time.
Not well. I'm wondering, is it every time or is it the entire length of time that I'm on the screen?
I think it's just like it happened, not a length of time. Like it's not like a waterfall rule here.
God damn it! Because they keep going back and forth because I keep changing my damn shirts. I screwed myself and I didn't even know.
5 years later.
Oh
God,
goodness.
it's forced to have a
I
decent
think
time.
what CIA's been doing in the past is just a lot of
That I believe is Apex over sweepstakes, and I think at this point you didn't have the idea yet to keep changing the shirts.
That makes you a solid team.
But soon.
Good basics, except
I think at this point I had changed it once, and then was slow because I knew from the beginning that I was going to do it because that's why I had so many shirts. I just didn't know if I was going to do it every heat or if I was going to slowly add it to see if anyone noticed. And I kind of ended up doing a little of both.
Yeah, I'm surprised he rage on that team too. Huh?
Interesting. All right, so this heat. Again, I don't have the sound on, so I don't know if they're saying it. Hold on.
Saying what?
It's okay. I was just gonna say because they don't have there's no overlay in this, so it's STC B with Rage in lane 1, Pika A with Rage in lane 2, and Fringe C with our favorite Buggy X1, aka Vanilla Buggy in lane 3. This one does get exciting again, although not super on camera. But to explain, Pika A is in lane 2, which is a little odd. And the reason for that is because of the disasters they had in the...
Did you see the wheelie she pulled when she hit that pothole?
Oh yeah, it's not the only time that a Buggy catches air here. Hey Ben, can you rewind that? Because I was not paying attention.
Sure. How far do you want to go?
It's the top of hill too, so just wherever you can get to. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, you have a rewind button like that? Yeah, so watch the Buggy here as it hits this pothole.
Turns out that's all YouTube episodes, or anything you watch on YouTube has
Boom.
arrow keys.
I gotta start using that.
And Fringe is still going uphill 1. I'm not sure if there's trouble with the Millibuggy, but just get to the hill.
But yeah, so I was saying Pika is in this heat because of... I'm gonna find it on the list. Did they...
Yeah, she's going pretty fast, and this is going to be the same thing. If she can make it through this turn,
I'll find it eventually. In the meantime, just watch the heat.
Yeah.
Clears the flag, and here we go into the shoot.
Because I miss it. Let's try adding in a
Wiggled out at the end, but it looks like it's going to get through safe.
Holy crap, what a power slide.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's a heck of a power slide.
Yeah, and she made it. The same cannot be said for SDC's Rage in the back. You won't see it on camera, although I think I have a video somewhere. It'll be too complicated to share it, but
See if I'm still on the right hills. Looks like I've moved.
Oh.
It is amazing, and I guess it makes sense. Teams are probably just not putting any speed into their buggies this year, but the rollouts are so bad.
It's a combination of things in this year. So
The roads are terrible.
The back hills in particular, starting as soon as they get into the chute, so Shelly Drive had been repaved from the stop sign to the chute.
I remember that.
Yeah, because I mean the year before was really bad. So this year,
Yeah, we had steel plates in the road covering the potholes.
Yeah. This year the roads have been paved, but Fruit Street had. So once you hit the chute, it was a nightmare. Also, there were only 3 weekends of rolls before in the spring. You had truck weekend, you had a full weekend before. So the last 2 weeks leading up to race day were full, but then before that you had one Saturday and one Sunday on different weekends, and that was it.
Gotcha.
Oh my God, Rachel.
So there was very little practice time. That didn't help.
That time has been top 6.
Just to finish my point from before, because I finally got it up. The reason Pika B was in that heat against FBC A and Pika B was coming out of lane 2 is because Pika hadn't had a women's B team in a while. So they, in the heat selection process, they were at the end.
Too, and that Buggy from last
They had
year,
not had a women's B team since 2010, 2011.
The Buggy to actually go through is really good thing.
So 2015, when you're using the three previous years of 12, 13, and 14, they had no times. So they got shifted to the end of the list, which put them not where they wanted to be.
But wasn't that Pike A in this heat that was in the middle lane, not Pike B?
Yes, that's a fair point. All right, hold on. Getting those numbers.
I think they had just had some crappy women's teams. They had been putting they had one good buggy, which was either Raptor or Banshee, and then one crap buggy that they didn't really put any effort into, and they would give the women's team the crap buggy so they would get terrible times. So they just
ran a Raptor Chimera for women's, and then they would run Banshee, which was at that time their newest buggy, men's.
Just about a tie here into Hill 2. This is going to be some excitement.
Yeah.
Oh, a little bit of separation, you can see.
Not much, sorry I'm late.
So was this when SIGEP dumped their A team pushers on their B team?
Yes.
So the thing I noticed in chat from Rachel, real quick, I didn't realize this, but yes, Allison was in 6 races for this race day.
In our dorm freshman year, we tried to get her to join Apex, but she'd already gotten SIG out.
I think is kind of the max you can do.
So I believe they did make that switch.
Excluding rerolls.
Makes sense, you want to have that best showing.
Yeah, because she drove from men's and women's and pushed women's on both days for each.
Yep.
And then had a reroll in each?
No, that's just 3 a day. That's not including rerolls.
But you can see how much they've gained this year.
Yeah.
That time
Oh, yeah, you're right. Not paying attention.
It's okay, I hadn't thought about it until now either.
That's a great
Rachel
turn.
just mentioned
Trying to have eyes right there on SIGEP. Looks like they're right behind. They got there through clean, so it's going to be all about the back hills right
Oh,
here.
and also Rachel's point about rage on the B team. That goes to the fact that there were so few rolls in the sprint. And SDC in 2015 was in a rebuilding year where they had some troubles. They could not get Avarice or Vice qualified for Raceday because every time they rolled, and I mean every time they rolled, they spun out in the chute.
And Lucy made it through the turn.
So they couldn't get enough rolls in either of those buggies to qualify it. So Rage came out. They rolled Rage in the fall, and then Rage came out on truck weekend and got qualified.
On color, right?
I think it was also a driver comfort thing. She wasn't comfortable driving. It was either Vice or Avarice. And then so they switched her back into Rage. And Eddie can probably talk about this better than I can, but that was the story that I heard.
That's not a new buggy.
Better than I can, but that...
Yeah, I don't remember all of it, but yeah, it's something along the lines of driver comfort. She had been rolling in Rage all the fall, and I think we tried to switch her onto one of Avarice or Vice in the spring, and then it wasn't looking too great, and then rolls were getting canceled left and right, so we went back to the safer option basically, and she was just more comfortable in Rage. So, as good as it could, given the conditions.
It's a smart idea.
Okay.
Oh, and we did. I didn't point out Lucy in this video.
Oh, there it is. I forgot what we were waiting for.
Only 2 seconds behind SDC.
Why we were still looking at the overhead.
Yeah.
There's Connor in a shirt, sweatshirt.
Yeah. The no parking hoodie.
And the driver,
I still have that somewhere. I got green paint on it in the shop the first day that I had it. I was so pissed.
Yeah, that happens. I've got 2, and one is definitely covered in oil of some kind.
So I think at about this time is when somebody noticed that I was changing my shirts. Because for the most part, I had kept it to during heats, so I wasn't doing it on screen. And I remember getting a text message, I think it was from Emily Ostrin, saying, "Can you please stop changing your shirts?"
That sounds about right, yeah.
We had earlier today. It's
But it became such a good thing, so I'm glad you didn't listen to her. That said, we love you, Emily, so
Yeah,
it's
but
okay.
the pushers are going to try to rein in their superpowers, so the CIA Hill 2
I
now
need a
has its
spirit
coupon,
shirt. I had one, and then I left it in the shop, and somebody cut one of the
Oh.
sleeves off of it, and I was like,
yeah,
what?
superhero squad out here for CIAC. All the buggies now on the course going to get underway. This is the 6th heat
Yeah.
of the women's.
Rachel also has two, and one is a much darker yellow. They actually had to make a new version of it when we stopped bagging the course.
I'd expect Fringe A to be in the lead
They
the whole
changed
way.
it to be the signs that we put up now, or I say we, the CIA puts up now.
Lydia Utkin on Hill 2 was almost queen of the hill her freshman year.
Ben just admitted to doing chores sweepstakes, just so you know.
When I was a student, yes.
Getting separation already, yeah.
Absolutely I did, because we didn't have anybody else when I was a student.
They're fun times, putting up signs in the middle of the night, scrounging together whoever the hell you can.
Yep.
So this is the most boring heat of the day, basically. This is Fringe A with Bisa, obviously well in the lead. Spirit B with Seraph, I believe. This is based on my note that it had a greenish color on it, and from Dia's comments during our trivia last week, green must mean Seraph. So I'm guessing, but I did not double check that. And yeah. So the CIAC team here is wearing superhero outfits, or maybe that was just Hill 1?
They're wearing capes, it looks like.
Okay, so what's the deal with that? Because this is the C team. You already had a D team role.
Yeah.
Why are there two sets of drivers, mechanics teams?
Probably wanted something to be fun. I mean, we have you gotta look fancy for D team, but C team didn't have a thing, so they were just like, all right, B team gets the shirts. We're gonna do shirts and something else. I think that was the extent of the logic.
I will say that move got a little bit scary, where Bisa, knowing what happens next year with Sig Ep.
Right.
I think Bisa was just driving to get around a pothole, but that looked a little awkward.
It's a pretty smooth Hill 3 pickup.
Yeah, a lot of people were taking really wide turns to avoid the potholes.
I will say, this does lead to what's coming next year, 2016, which will be presumably next week, where the entire women's heat gets blown away on the rollouts of Hill 3. Because everyone is so prepared for what they got this year. And after this year, as you can see, the roads were so bad that Fruit Street got paved. It was part of a deal. I didn't put this in the article, did I? Crap! I gotta do that. There was a deal made between CMU and the city to pave Fruit Street, but by the time they struck the deal, the asphalt companies, I don't know what they're called, the storage for asphalt, whatever. Audrey is going nuts in the background. Oh, Aubrey, sorry. I don't know why I said Audrey. Apologies, Aubrey. So the asphalt place was closed for the winter, and then by the time they opened up, it was too close to Carnival, so they delayed until after Carnival to do the paving of Fruit Street, which CMU paid, I think, covered 1/3 of the cost, and some of that came from sweepstakes.
So what I didn't understand about that year, with all of the women's teams getting blown out, number one, they had rolls with the new asphalt, so I felt like they should have at least somewhat expected the rollout. But beyond that, when you saw somebody getting blown out on the first heat, why didn't you scoot up a little bit? Was it just a year that they had a bunch of inexperienced Hill 3s? Because I don't know, I feel like a buggy comes down the free roll, I have a general idea of where it's going to end up, and I adjust accordingly. And you would think that whoever you have on your A team on race day would also be able to make the same adjustments.
More aggressive than I need to. Maybe they have little bit more patience. And
You'd
and
think,
get
although,
through to day 2.
again, this is foreshadowing a little bit, but like everyone got blown out for the first 6 races, and then SDC overcompensated in the final race and had to double back for the buggy.
So I'm gonna keep my eyes open on them. Cautiously
But
optimistic here.
it must have
But
been
we'll see what happens.
inexperience because I mean, the other thing about it is it came like all on the women's side. The men's side didn't have the same issues, and it makes me think that maybe part of the reason is because, and again, I'm coming from a fraternity team where the women's team came out like, a week or two before race day, as opposed to the men's teams who were pushing every week. I assume that is not the same with independents, where it's a much bigger mix of people coming out on a week-to-week basis. But it had to have been inexperience. I don't know if there's another possible reason for that much.
Again, I think that they've been working.
I mean, there's the like extra
kind of
race day
about time
juice
they
that the
did it,
buggies always seem to have, but that shouldn't cover every team equally like that.
I'm not sure who's going to be faster.
Yeah, and I think another part of it is
second place in this heat.
a lot of teams, and I was sweepstakes chairman in 2016, so I remember this pretty vividly. A lot of teams really didn't speed up until truck weekend, if at all, before race day. And I just remember one of the days in truck weekend, the road conditions were it was still so wet that nobody even wanted to roll at first. Like, we delayed for like almost 45 minutes. And then SIGEP volunteered to roll just around on their own because they literally needed to qualify an entire buggy on just truck weekend alone. So I think they got like 7 rolls in on one day, and then like another 7 the next day. It was something absolutely ridiculous like that. So I think, given the road conditions on the truck weekend, people weren't really speeding up as they usually would, and a lot of teams just don't speed up until truck weekend, which obviously is not ideal, but yeah, it is what it is.
And this is the first time we're going to see.
Hey Ben.
What's up?
This is 206 is way off from my time. Darn it. There's a great thing that Connor did, that Connor messed with Will in the introductions to this one.
And this is the first time we're going to see Ember rolling on race day, so I'm very curious to see what the freak.
But I was going to say I wanted you to go back to, but I don't have the app, so that doesn't really work.
Can I root for my team here? Let's go Apex!
Apex able to get it first, but SDC making up a little bit of that ground, and it's still neck and neck, and this is where having that.
Yes, Connor. Yes, you can root for your team.
SDC.
I want to point out here that my notes on this heat, just in all capital letters, I have the words "Connor is very excited."
Well, if our buggy wasn't such a dumpster fire this year, we would have beat them. I'm fully convinced of that.
You know what? You're not necessarily wrong.
They missed the shove. But the whatchamacallit, just, after it broke the first year, it was never as fast. It was a lot heavier, probably almost 10 pounds heavier than when it first came out. And then it always had a problem with the brakes because of the way that the brake handle was set up. There wasn't enough travel to let the brakes fully release. So unless you had it set up absolutely perfect, the brakes would start to rub. And then anytime you hit a bump in the road, the brakes would move and it would cause it to rub again. And for whatever reason, the buggy was designed to have front brakes. We put the rear brakes in temporarily so that we could get it out and get qualifying rolls. Then I went home, and the front brakes never got put on until 2018 when I returned to campus.
Looks like they've gained some separation from Apex now.
Oh, that's
right there.
Something definitely happened with Ember there. She was right.
Out of curiosity, and first of all, go AE Pie. Come on, catch Apex. Out of curiosity, and I realize that this 2015 is now after your time, but did Apex ever consider just using Phoenix as their A-team buggy? Because even though it was heavier, it was at least more consistent?
I pushed for that in 2014 because it was even more consistent then. I pushed for it again in 15, even though I wasn't a student, but the weight difference was, even after it gained 10 pounds, it was still a 15-pound difference. So even though on the women's side, especially on the women's side, it made a big enough difference for the pushers to have the lighter buggy that they went with it. But realistically, where we made a mistake was we tried to change too much too quickly. We should have just built Phoenix but smaller and lighter the next year, and then done something crazy in 2015, which would have been this year. But if we had done that and effectively built Firefly in 2014,
Apex is top 6 right now.
no doubt in my mind, I think on this race day, Apex would have been competitive on the men's and women's side, significantly more than they ended up being.
So, some exciting action out there, and as things shake out.
Admit it, Firefly is basically just an upgraded version of Phoenix, isn't it?
I mean, it's Phoenix but lighter. Almost everything else on the internals is exactly the same. They just did a terrible job designing the shell because they hadn't built a buggy in 3 years and had no idea what they were doing, and then didn't ask anyone for help.
I don't know why it wasn't doing that.
But I mean, Firefly, it's been good the last 2 years, but it still has its problems.
They rolled it as BT. Solaris was A last year. Is that right?
Yeah, Solaris was A last year and is equally as fast as Firefly, but at least on the men's side, had a problem where one of the harness straps, there's a way that they attach it to prevent it from getting in the back wheel, and it came out of that attachment point and it started rubbing on the back wheel. So effectively, the buggy was had a rubbing brake on the rear wheel the whole way down, which is why the men's B team beat the A team again last year. But the reason why the team didn't get disqualified was that all of the pushers on the men's A team were faster, but the free roll was like 7 seconds slow.
Hey Ben, can you rewind to the start of this, because I forgot that this is a little messed up, and
The start is
just to properly set it up.
from Hill 2.
Still get you one.
Because they missed
Keep
the...
going.
they missed it.
You gotta go. Yeah, you gotta go back to the package, or to like the end of that package.
I mean, this is it. This is the start. Like, that's it.
Just like jump back like 20 seconds or so.
Okay. Because I mean, they
You need
don't
to go back
show
too far,
anything.
I don't think. Could be wrong. That's fine.
Yeah, I'm not
That's
sure A
probably
was
more
supposed
than
to be.
enough.
There you go. I mean, here.
I didn't
This
go
is
that
as much
far
as
back.
they show. Yeah.
Well, we'll see. So just to set up what's happening here, as is known to happen from time to time, we are currently in the intermission between between women's and men's, and the start of the men's races catch CMU TV a little off guard. So they do not record the front hills of men's heat 1.
Yep.
Which is between, if I pull up my notes, Signu A with Bungarus Crate in
I
lane
forgot I
1.
muted myself in Discord. Sorry there.
Oh, were you saying something?
I was just saying that they don't have the front hills. Like it starts.
Yeah.
with
Here, so it's Signu A, Fringe, I think it's D with Balius. No, it's B with Balius? B with Balius, sorry. That's right. So it's Signu A, Fringe B with Balius in lane 2, and AEPI A with Kamikaze in lane 3. And I gotta give credit here to AEPI, who managed to keep up on the front hills, and because of that, had a collision there with Balius.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not sure AEPI was supposed to be that.
Of course,
good on Hill
because
1.
of that
Sometimes
collision,
AEPI
was spot safetied, and for the 3rd year in a row, DQ'd for failing their spot safety. Yeah, you'd think, okay, the first year, I get it. Like, spot safeties,
Yeah,
you should
sometimes
never
you can do
fail a
that
spot
because you're out of
safety.
shape or slow.
I mean,
But he
there's a
might have done
reason
it
it's
early
called a spot
because
safety.
he saw that
But,
I got about a 1 minute on that.
you know,
On
I
that,
get it. You
outside
make a
time. But he might
mistake,
shove
something
early, knowing
happens
that he
once.
can outroll his other
You
two
do it a
buggies.
second year in a row, that's a problem. You do it in the third
Talk to
year,
STs, he'll get you one.
third straight year, what are you doing? Also, what is the
She
Sig New
completely
driver
blew up
doing
her
on
shoot
this
flag.
shoot turn? Like, what is that?
Playing it super tight. Like they apparently can make sometimes.
This driver only made it through the shoot turn, I think, 6 times. They gave them an exemption to roll on Raceday this year, and all of us were like, there is no way in hell she doesn't crash on Raceday, and then somehow pulled that off.
Yeah.
I mean, like, she's turning like 50 feet before the flag.
She had no idea what she was doing. She should never have been driving, but they didn't have anybody else, and they just did it.
I don't know if she slowed it down or something, but I mean, it wasn't a great roll up, but
Kamikaze's inside wheel.
looking to separate themselves. This hill 4 guys.
Yeah, that's not fully, you know, perpendicular to the ground, which
this
is a
was a
problem.
sad race for Valius.
Pretty close behind.
nice shove.
Shove off right
Coach
Yeah.
is getting broken earlier, of course.
I do want to point out for Kamikaze, Kamikaze is wagon steering. It shouldn't look like
Yeah,
that.
rolling pretty good. I see a little bit something flashing in there.
I mean, it means that the stub or whatever is not at the right angle.
That front wheel looks like it's getting
Or they
funny,
have
but
some slop in the
they're gonna finish
bearing,
pretty
or
strong there.
the joint, or it's not tightened all the way.
29.
All sorts of things.
Yeah.
All sorts of things.
Also, maybe that's a sign as to why this would be A Pie's last year.
One of
Until
many reasons,
2020.
I'm sure. Right.
Coming across at a 247.
Yeah.
I thought they rolled in
Hopefully we
2016.
get-
See what her confidence level is right now.
Yeah, she should be good to go.
Did they? Was I off by a year when I just said that? They might have.
At the very least, they very diligently did chores in 2016. They were,
Well, first I want to
I remember I gave them chairman's choice because they always do their chores.
I was off by a year. 2016 was their last year.
The B team is for SIGAP, where they're going to end up. I
That's
still
right.
think
It
that
would have been
SDC
four.
can
It would have been
outroll
4
SIGAP,
years.
so if SIGAP comes up and over
So the
first,
people who
I
were
think it's gonna be
freshmen
a pass
when they
test or a really
finished
close run down the
could have been rolled this year.
Let's see, we got.
Yeah, my bad. You'd think I would know when A Pie because that's when I started yelling at them repeatedly.
Great. Well, I'll read their names twice. And
This is the year we didn't have the starter on the broadcast.
This SIGAP B team is solid.
Yeah,
communication.
It's a really good hill one.
It's a challenge.
SDC is trying to do a very strong bump technique.
Yeah, so here in Heat 2, this is SDCC with Bane and SIGEP B with Barracuda. Once again, Annie Black driving Bane.
About an 18-second hill one, pretty fast.
deep shove right there into the hill 2.
Such an awkward shove. Also, that's something the Sig F always shoves super deep into Hill 2, and I don't know why.
SIGEP lost race day this year because of how deep they did their Hill 2 shove on their men's A team.
Unbelievable time of, I believe,
If you
7
watch,
on
it
this
may
buggy.
be the top 4 split screen that we did for 2015. But one of the I can't remember exactly which split screen it was, but one of the split screens, like you can visibly see when you pair up these two buggies that are otherwise identical. It may have been the Pika SDC one from 2019. I think SDC went a little deeper with the shove. And like if you take out a stopwatch, you can see by shoving deeper, you're actually costing your team
She
time.
had the slide there too, but she held it again.
I mean,
So,
in pretty much any case, a buggy after someone is running at full speed and you shove it off is never going to be slower than a human. I think I totally screwed that up. When you push off a buggy, you are never going to be able to run faster than that buggy will roll downhill.
Right.
Like it's not possible.
SIGEP's looking really strong. Their
So as
the Hill 3 pusher took
Yeah.
really deep up in the exchange, which helps.
As
This year,
I think is the hardest hill. And
actually on day one, so I was Hill 2 for 18 this year. I shoved it off like hilariously early because of that train of thought. There is like a little bit of balance between like as a sprinter, you can run a little bit faster downhill, so you kind of want to reach. Vaguely, you want to reach your top speed running downhill because the downhill doesn't really get that much steeper, and Eventually the downhill is too fast. Like faster, you'll probably run slower. But there is like an ideal point, and it's hard to gauge exactly when it is when you're reaching your peak speed as a sprinter running downhill. And then you want to give the best shove you can. And then there's other things like, I remember the SIG Up A team Hill 2 this year. It looked like he went super deep and he was holding it back. Like he, had his fingers around the push bar.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about, well, as a pusher, when you hold it back, is you can get closer to the buggy and get more full extension. But on the other hand, you're inhibiting it from going faster. So it's really hard, basically, to get an ideal shove without your fingers around the push bar, because very quickly the buggy gets away from you on race day on Hill 2. And yeah.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
What's up, Mickey?
I don't want to do my work right now, so I'm joining to offer opinions.
Good for you.
I had an opinion on what you just said, which is, and I get into a lot of fights about this opinion. It's that you should shove as high as possible on the hill for all the reasons you just said, right? You have like more control over it, and you can, you can pick your release point. You're like not holding it back. You never miss the shove, and also when you shove it, it's always going to go faster than you can run, right? So like that's like kind of the definition of it, right? So I'm big team higher on the hill.
My big thing has always been, once the driver has pointed her nose straight, like when the driver is no longer turning and she is now like, okay, at this point I'm going to go straight until I have to make the left-hand turn, that is my push-off point. Because once she's going, if she's turning a little bit and you push it, there's a chance you're either going to slide the tail or some crazy shit's going to happen. So once she's straight, that was always my, like, that's my go point.
There's also like the bump and run thing. Like Hill 2 is like, you're insane for doing like a bump and run to the degree that most people do on Hill 2. I mean, maybe I haven't shoved a buggy that's like 50 pounds or whatever, like, STC has, but should definitely stay with it.
By the way, men's heat 3, the roads are finally starting to dry.
3 seconds on the stop sign. That's a nice
Sun's
stop
finally
sign
out.
time right
Fastest
there.
one today, yeah.
It's a lot brighter.
56 for Pika B, so they're
But they're not fully dry yet, and so pay attention to Raptor in the background.
Oh, Craptor. It is genuinely one of the crappiest buggies when you really start to look at it up close.
Yeah. I mean,
Which
there's a
one's
reason
Raptor?
Tom Woods keeps trying to give away the mold.
Yeah. Well, it's not the mold, it's not any of that, because like it has rolled quickly. It's just the fact that if you look at it, there are sections of the body of that buggy that are not carbon fiber, they are just tape.
I think so too. She looked a little deep. She's been taking some deep
about right.
lines.
But you remove the tape, there's a hole.
Hadn't been a spinner much, but she was really.
That sounds like poor building.
I guess she hit the downside.
It's like I wouldn't put shell construction in Pika's core competencies necessarily.
Willie wants us to be nice to Raptor because he has a great personality.
Has a great.
Well, I mean, I say that, but I'm on like a live feed with like a dude from like CIA Apex and API and KDR, right? And we're sitting here going like, oh, the shell could be better. It's like fair, but.
I'll have to look back in history to see what their best performances have been, but
KDR wasn't real good at it either.
Top 5 or 6.
I did miss the fact that in my notes, my note here about Peka's crash in the chute came from my own video and not the CMU TV feed, which did not catch it. So I apologize telling people to pay attention to Raptor and not see it in the chute. But yeah, she hit the outer bales pretty early. With a pretty wide line. He did bounce off of them and continue likely rolling up the chute. But, once you make contact, that's pretty much it for your roll.
Was this the year that they hit the hay bales and then the Hill 3 pusher tried to push them up the back hills? That did happen once.
It did happen, and there was a lot of screaming in the chute to tell the person to stop. I don't think that was this one, because I think I had that in my notes. And I don't
It's got different wheel compound than this buggy too.
Yeah, it does like to lose its top frequently.
Who's in this heat?
This is
Yeah, they went with the big white
in-
thing wheels as opposed to the black with the
Yeah, but which
Yes.
which ones? Do you know?
Maybe that's going to be their
So it's
Apex
it's
B.
A.
Spirit A, Sig FC,
A
Apex
lot
B.
of separation right
Yeah.
there.
between Apex and Sig F up there.
Yeah, it
Yeah, look
still
at
is tight right now going into this.
And those two in the back are pretty close together.
On those first 2 hills, that looked really good.
Looking at a sub 18
But we
second
can't
hill
see
one,
because there's a
turn
timing
two.
clock over them.
He's the king
Willie,
right now.
you're not that far out of school, man.
And of course, with them, it's always about the free roll and the shoot.
Yeah, Willie. The answer to the question, and I forget how I know this, but Raptor is the training buggy now, but also
What is that? What do you mean training buggy? Like that's not a thing. like it makes like a buggy every year when they pick like Raptor to be.
Right here.
It's the one
Well,
that they
it's-
don't want to race. It's one you can give to new drivers who
Nice.
aren't
They're able
as
to get it
comfortable,
through, Spirit.
and they'll be comfortable
And
in
here
that
we are
buggy.
now. It comes to the back hills with Spirit.
Training buggy is definitely a thing. Like Phoenix is the training buggy for Apex. New drivers, that's the buggy that they drive because if they fuck it up, while we be kind of sad, it will not be the end of the world.
Well, that's a very different distinction because Apex only has what like three or four buggies, right? It's
5.
Phoenix. 5?
Yes.
Wait, hang on. Let me see if I can name them. And that
Okay.
can be a big Apex. It's
Spirit.
trivia
Are you
question for
doing
you name it? Can you name
I'm
it?
not counting Insight.
You're not counting Insight? Okay,
No.
Phoenix, Firefly,
Here we are, 4 to 5.
Azula,
Let's see what we can get with Spirit. Transition here coming out of
Solaris,
58.
and the other one.
The other one.
Got nailed it.
Other one that we've already seen raced and had Connor Cup a lot in this 2015 broadcast.
I mean, I'm doing work in the background here, so I wasn't. My focus is mixed. But what was it? I have
Ember.
the T-shirt. Ember, that's right. Yeah, I have every piece of Apex swag ever produced,
Except the sweatshirts.
except the sweatshirts, the T-shirts. What I mean by that is I have one T-shirt a year. I don't have every piece of swag ever produced. I didn't get the socks.
About a 235.
I do want to quickly point out when I said that I didn't remember how I knew that Raptor was a training buggy. Dia pointed out how I knew that in the chat, and it's because Rob Levin, who's the Pika champion this year, mentioned it on the most recent episode of the podcast. So go check that out if you haven't already, and you will learn all about the use of Raptor.
Wait, there's a discussion going on in the live stream that I wanna get in on, which is about Rage, which is
And then their back hills.
you
That's
know,
been lacking a little bit compared to when
immortal,
they were
basically. And I think we were having this discussion over virtual race day about what the oldest, like which buggies have seen the most race days, right, or the most like individual heats. And my money would be on Rage being one of them, King of Spades being one of them. I'm a Perrin stan, but you know that may or may not be one. Shaka Zulu. I don't know, you guys. Which buggies would you put in the top 3 for having seen the most individual
Wait.
heats?
Raisin's
Raisin now that DG's doing it.
Haraka rolled at least 21 years because I know there was one year where the buggy was older than every single person on the team.
Yeah, wait. I just want to be clear. Are we saying which buggies have rolled the most on a race day, or are we saying which buggies have done well the most on race days?
Rolled the most, right? Like the longest numbers of years in active service.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, you got to look at. Haraka definitely.
Yep.
Rage. I mean, Rage is 19 years. I mean, if you want to go back, Golden Goose was 19 years. Built in 55, 74. Some of the older ones are probably have a long shelf life. Camo.
Rubicon camo, limo.
Conquest was 92 to 2000 something.
Yeah, I feel like the actual answer is going to be some CIA buggy that is probably in your basement. It's going to be like Streetcar or like.
No, we actually
The most mentioned one is Stealth. I'm not sure I've had a conversation with anybody in CIA for more than 5 minutes without Stealth coming up in like some capacity.
Stealth has been around a while. It was at least rolling up through
trying to get some separation there. And it looks
2007.
like this is probably the difference between an A team and a
I
B
think
team.
around when
Fringe A,
Firebird was made.
good body positioning there, just
It
kind of
was,
staying in front of CIA here on the
But I think it's a much closer than we thought it was going to be with CIA being next to Fringe A.
Yeah,
King of
Conquest was at least
Spades.
18.
let's see that.
Wait, Stealth was retired the year the Firebird was made?
I want to say somewhere around there. Or at least they were rolling out in similar time periods.
That was my freshman year.
Yeah.
That's not
That's
just making
great.
day 2. That's pushing the trophy.
By the way,
And I never saw Stealth. I never saw Stealth roll. Is my
Okay.
which makes this even weirder that like Stealth is brought up so much, and I'm like I've been here for 18 carnivals.
So
I've never
Stealth
seen
was
it roll.
probably brought up just because it held our org record and was a pain in the ass to safety after every day of rolls because there were so many rivets, hundreds and hundreds of rivets.
Yeah,
Had to be checked each and every one.
yeah. Pumpkin King did that too. It was like 18 quarter turns, which you know, or 16 quarter. The joke is really hard. Why did I make the math hard? I was going to say that 18 quarter turns. That's 4.5 turns, but
With a nice new paint job, more peeling.
I couldn't do the math fast enough.
Yeah, sounds about right.
by the way, we didn't talk about that heat at all, but the shoot turn with Fringe there, like clearly the driver of Visa was intent on dodging a particular pothole because she made the same move in the men's heat that she did in the women's.
Congratulations, Fidel, for
Also, shout out to CIA B for keeping it that close with Fringe A.
Yeah.
But
This was right as we were starting to get really like in there, and this was
that roll
our
showed a
first
lot of a
women's
couple
win,
things that I think are
if I
very
remember right?
impressive. It showed
Since forever again?
CIA's depth in
since
push
'85,
team, which
30
is
years.
starting to look like SDC.
Not
This
sure
was
the
like-
story is
SDC are the best.
the story is like
Also-
equal parts CIA getting really good and Fringe
They've got a great depth in the push
getting
team,
less
and they've
good.
got
Yeah,
solid
it was,
I love
it was
you.
sort of the
working.
passing.
You know, when
of
they
that.
came out with Icarus
Inflection
came out
point,
first,
whatever.
I think, right? And then they matched it with.
This was like the
Equinox.
absolute like
You know,
nadir
they
of
like these buggies,
Fringe's
but they're clearly
rolling
doing the right things with
ability,
those things.
probably
They're getting
in their
faster,
modern
put the wheels
history.
together, so-
They were rolling free rolls that were like,
Oh, man, that's CIA.
you know,
CIA
a
push.
good free roll time
He can
for
ride the things
Apex
up.
at this point in time was like what Fringe was rolling. It was like pretty sad to see.
This is the best angle at it.
I mean, Fringe was pretty close to winning men's race day this year. Actually, like, they finished with 214. They actually came into the back hills before SDC did this year, and the back hills just literally were not fast enough to
This is where it gets crazy.
SDC or.
Runs up over the hill. This is going to be a
I think they cut 4 seconds from day 1 to day 2 though. It was like a massive improvement.
That's true. I mean, yeah, I don't know what they were doing, like if they were holding back on, you know, one. But all I know is day 2 they had a really solid free roll time.
In 2015, you're saying, like the ones that we're watching right now. What buggy was it? Was it?
Visa.
They'd probably still Visa at this point.
Oh yeah.
See, so this is SDC B with Rage, Spirit B with Seraph, and CAD with Icarus. This is why.
This is a controversial heat. This was probably the most heated chairman's meeting I've ever been in.
Yeah. Pay attention to the shoot, but also and look, Jeremy has explained to me his take on this. I cannot agree with that.
SCCB with Rage in 2015 is kind of a humble brag.
So here's a SDC tries attack. There's contact. They both go into the bales. Now, I think we will see the. I think we will see the replay of this. If not, Ben will run a replay of this. So Spirit was granted a reroll on Friday and re-rolled later that day, qualifying for final. I think. I'd have to check that, but I'm pretty
Well,
sure
I think they had the reroll the next day, but yeah.
No, so Spirit B re-rolled on Friday.
Yeah, well, they both hit pretty hard.
SDC B re-rolled on Saturday, and as a result of that, finished 5th.
Yeah, that was bullshit. I'm sorry. That cost us a 5th place trophy, and they fucking kamikazed the side of Spirit. That's a DQ.
I don't know how, like, in watching this replay, I don't know how you can say SDC successfully completed the pass and didn't cause this interference which is the only basis that I can assume for why SDCB didn't get a reroll on Friday when everyone else did. I realize the rules say you're supposed to reroll on Saturday. I think, the fact that there hadn't been 2 full days of rolls in 5 years,
I think that Rage
changed how people saw some of these things. But SDCB getting a reroll on Saturday means that at some point after Friday, they looked at this and said, guess we will give SDC a reroll after all. And I don't know how you can watch this replay that we're watching right now and think that this pass is completed.
Was it Saturday morning or Saturday
Saturday morning
after races? No. I mean,
SDC driver did
if you can do a reroll on Saturday morning before races, and get 5th place, you deserve it.
Because of the way that Buggy handles. And the poor Spirit driver is
5th place in this year was not fast.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Spirit driver was just.
I mean, 220 was 6th, I think.
And doing it with a 20-year-old Buggy.
Rage came in on the inside.
So anyway, Eddie, do you know why the reroll was granted on this? Because at this point, I was not a student, so I was not in the chairman's meeting to hear what went down.
Or better yet, Ilan, if you're out there and want to fill us in on the discussions here, if you remember them.
Yeah, I was going to say, probably Elon is the best person to weigh in on this, if he's still on the...
only have to see 45 degrees to the right and to the left, so even if you're side by side, you don't know the Buggy's there.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment too much on this.
It's like
that's fair.
Left, right,
slide. Next thing you know, this big red streak pushes you into the bales.
I don't see how you can give SDC a reroll for this and give them a 5th place trophy when it's so clear to me that they caused this crash. But I guess I'm not.
Yeah, I will say this, and then an incident next year, which I think we vaguely covered during the virtual race day, really started the what do you call it? Precedence that really, if you're a driver and you don't feel safe going into the shoot turn, or just at any point during the free roll, because you think there might be like a close passing situation, if you brake, you pretty much automatically get a free roll. So I think starting race day 2017 and beyond, that's pretty much the way it's been. But at this point in 2015, I think all teams are a little wary. If they brake before going into the shoot turn, they might not get a free roll, so they're just not going to risk it. So this was one of the 2 big incidents that kind of set that up, I would say.
It's also the point of maximum speed. And she probably couldn't see what was going on.
So
I don't know. My philosophy is always sweepstakes. Number 1 priority is to encourage participation in the sport, and nothing discourages participation in the sport than being liberal with your disqualifications, right? And being oh, you crashed, it sucks for you, right? If you can have them roll the next day, you should.
I mean, I'm all for fewer DQs. Hey, let's not DQ people if you don't have to.
Yeah, a little wobble.
But I mean, just in the interest of safety, you're not gonna get more risky than that.
Having them do a reroll by themselves.
No, of the crash. I mean.
Oh sure, yeah.
You're in fact, by giving them the reroll on Saturday, you're awarding them for causing that, because Spirit B had to roll again on Friday.
I don't think the fault is as cut and dry as all that. I would have. I mean, I'd have to look at it again, but I think there is room to say that they get the benefit of the doubt.
This Buggy definitely needs some work before it's really.
By the way, I stand corrected. Spirit B rerolled on Friday and did not make second race day. So the crash there with Spirit B in the lead, their reroll later puts up about a 240, whereas Rage is then allowed to make it okay, fine. If you want to grant them both rerolls on Friday, I'm for that. I mean, I'm not really for that, because again, I think that was Rage's fault. But it makes sense if you treat them both equally and say no one was at fault. But once you moved on from Friday, now you're giving SDC a trophy. When they very well might not have gotten that if they rolled on Friday.
I mean, first of all, for Spirit B getting a 240 and change is a hardware failure, right? They didn't have a 240.
Yes,
they have
failure caused by the fact that they crashed there and had to re-roll the same day.
Yeah, that's fair. And the second is that sweepstakes does the best they can on any given thing, right? It's I think it's actually a very defensible position to be, like, upon further review, we decided to give this team another chance. Like, every part of that decision seems pretty good to me. Like, give it further review and maximize participation.
I guess, but as a salty alum,
Yeah, it's fair. I mean, yeah, right. That's the counter argument is get off my lawn, which is fair. I think it's a reasonable counter argument.
Well, you know, it's interesting as French crosses.
also, now that this race is over, Ben, can you go back to the top of Hill 2 for this race? And then we can hop on to the next race after that. But because this is a pretty good example of the difference in shoves. Because Sigep goes deep and Apex does not.
Right.
Yeah, they're both pretty fast right around.
Apex propels here. Like if they didn't hit the pothole and lose all control of the buggy. Like,
Can I tell you that?
If the buggy wasn't a complete dumpster fire.
Yeah. Like,
Wait, is this Apex A?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I tell you that I think the wheels that have gotten the most rolls in history are the wheels on Apex right now that are sitting next to me?
They still rolled a 54 last year. They still have life in them.
Yeah,
I disagree with that based on the fact that I know A-Pie bought zero wheels 1 year and has continued using them.
that's pretty amazing, actually.
These are older than those. These are from what, McHugh, 2008?
We made them in 2000. Yeah. They started rolling in 2008 in KDR, and then after KDR picked up campus, they went to a Soapbox Derby team in Akron, and they were used on Derby Downs a couple times, and then they came back and they've been used on Raceday every year, I think, since Apex was founded.
Yeah, 2013. The only year they didn't get used was 2017 because Josio went out and bought a set of Zero Errors, which was the year that Zero Errors started making shit wheels, and they would have been better off rolling on the KDR wheels. But they also didn't heat wheels. There was like a 2 or 3 year window where they didn't heat wheels because the team was just really struggling just to get by. So that also did not help the free roll times in, I think it was 16, 17.
I do also just want to point out that I don't believe we had any spare wheels for camo ever in my time. So camo was rolling on the same 3 wheels that were never removed from that buggy.
That's gonna be king.
That's
So,
fast. He was under 17 seconds.
I have notes. I have notes on that philosophy.
He didn't look that fast.
The KDR wheels are actually
That's gonna hurt their free
and
roll.
they're sitting. There's a mess of maybe like 40 wheels on the ground next to me right now, which is very weird. But the KDR wheels are really interesting because the hubs are old beta wheels that were machined from Zooters, and then the urethane we got made custom after the fact. So they've been, I mean, there's a lot of different DNA in those wheels. I'm amazed that they're so fast. Yeah.
Even with that Hill 2 push,
I think Fidel has a copy of those wheels as well. They have some orange wheels.
I would be surprised if the origin was similar, but orange is the fastest color.
I think, if I remember correctly, Alex Russell said he got them at one point.
Now here's
And
what
then,
we don't know. We don't know.
I think they tried it for race day, but like the bearings weren't quite the same.
These guys are carryovers. We don't know what they're telling.
They ended up going with Zero Errors in the next.
I'm sure they didn't want it.
Yeah, it was very, very costly expenditure.
Yeah, Zero Errors.
Not having tons and tons of rolls.
Derek
Looks like we have a spin
makes his
there. It
mind.
looks like it's Spirit.
For those watching, since we didn't see it, Spirit C spins in the chute here. It is their purple buggy, which
Zook.
makes that Zook.
Zook.
Okay.
There we go. There's our
Yeah, so we don't see that, but do pay attention here on Hill 5. By the way, from this camera angle, I've never noticed it before because I never paid attention, but Banshee looks a lot like Godzilla.
push for them in the past.
I mean, not green, and probably, different being 30 years later, but like, kind of
Godzilla
resembles
is the one that Bordic's throwing out in his Facebook picture.
He missed the bar.
Oh, no, that was Mach 2, right? Was the one with the snake skin in it?
Yeah, that's right.
Gotta get a replay right there.
I'm glad that we have a common point of reference there. That's pretty funny.
So if you didn't notice, also Ben, I want to ask you about this, but if you didn't notice, at Hill 5 at the finish line with Pika, although it seemed like maybe he got the push bar,
having an unbelievable
he
race
didn't get
day.
it in time.
Yep,
A
238.
devastating blow to Pika
let's
A
see if we can get a
because
replay
this
on that
was their year.
Pika.
Yeah, Neil, if I was
Will's asking for
This
it.
was-
I
this
think
was
we
because
get
they-
it in just a sec.
You know,
Yeah.
Hill 2 shove was sliding.
The concept
you know,
of
she was a little squirrely through the turn.
this was
Hill 3
Pika's
picked up most of the
A's
grid.
year, and not any time
Hill 5
between
easy
2002
run on
and
the bar, but, you know, these are
2007.
the things that come from practice. You got to get out there and practice.
Pika
Yeah,
the
Pika-
World
Staying
Quest,
too
yeah.
cold and for free rolls.
Pika useless in the
Gotta get out
past.
there
Never
and
good.
sneak
He
inside.
really had a
The
chance.
winningest organization in sweepstakes.
Let's see if we can get eyes on that. Here we
Said
go.
they slipped on a pebble.
Slow motion.
Yeah, Alon pointing out that they
There's the nose,
slipped on a
Pikes
and
pebble.
then he
love-
got his hand on it
Pikes
after the
love
wash.
that
That's a
shit.
DQ.
That's like
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
their other favorite
Stop
thing
it
is
right
to.
there, you can see.
Oh, she didn't
This was
see the
2 in a
flag
row
at
now.
drops.
About
Because
half a buggy's length.
they did it for fish as well.
He slipped on a pebble.
Yeah.
This is the first.
Oh.
That's
This
painful.
Pebble came out of nowhere.
And after, because if he's able to go across there, you got to feel pretty.
I do want to quickly shout out Rachel Brown. What she said in the chat about rage. She does make a good point, which I can't really argue. Which on that shoot turn is that the rage driver probably couldn't see Spirit there. So totally get that.
No way.
Yeah.
But like,
He's gonna have to
she
hang their hat on
knew
the women's
Spirit
team
was in
tomorrow.
front of
That's
her.
terrible.
I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, that was one of the arguments that was put forward in the chairman's.
Another team that we'd expect out
No, I'm
there.
sure.
You don't see
That's
Pike
the
A, you
and look,
don't see
it's
Pike
it's a
B,
real
SDC,
it's a perfectly
Spirit.
valid argument. Like
So
she,
who's
I
moving up?
totally
You know,
believe she couldn't
Apex,
see Spirit.
Connor,
It's just
not to jinx anything, they're looking all right. If we look at this leaderboard,
Can you guys still hear me?
If they pass drops, which we don't know about,
that's fair. Right, but you have CIA,
Willie pointing out that
Sigma
Fordham
A,
Prep has
Fringe
cost
A,
Pika a
Sigma
trophy
B,
multiple years in a
Spirit
row.
A, CIA B, Apex A,
I assume that's
SDCC,
because your Hill 5
CFC,
pusher there went to
and
Fordham Prep.
Sigma A. in 10.
I'm going to put
Curious
it
if
this way.
there's some other
If
reason.
SDC is any trouble-
Fuck Fordham Prep. They were our high school rivals.
that's nuts.
It's completely nuts.
That sounds like a made-up school that a
I mean,
Pike would
an
go
SDC
to.
is a strong team, but
No,
I
it's
would-
a legitimate school. It's on the campus of Fordham University up in the Bronx.
His nickname's the Flash. He has it on all of his jackets. So
Dia with a good
definitely
question for the
high-quality
group.
pusher
Name a
there.
better combo than
But,
Pika and Miss Push
you know,
Bars.
haven't talked to some of the guys over
Go
at
ahead.
SDC that I'm friends with.
Spirit
They're
and
definitely
spinning in
looking
the
a little bit
chute.
slower this year. Still top team, but probably
that
more in the
one's pretty good.
207, 208 range.
Sig and
We'll,
drops.
figure it out right here.
Ooh.
This is the final scheduled heat of race day. Again, we'll have re-rolls right after this. But let's get ready for the final
SDC
heat
in
here
first
of
place.
Buggy.
Please.
Can CIA stay in first place, or is SDC
Pika
gonna
and
take
scratching
it
at
back?
least
We'll
one of
find
their
out in
women's
just a moment.
teams.
A Pie and spot safeties. I would have said 5-second DQs because that was their thing too. But
Here we are with them coming up.
in these years, it was the spot safety error.
I doubt likes the 5-second DQ now.
Oh my
Brian Backus,
They
who
tend to
are
find that.
you?
At least one a year.
But
It's the
SDC
most JV DQ.
catching right up with them there. Looks like they'll probably be
Yeah,
clean
keeping
going
up with
into Hill 2,
SDC.
but that is pretty close right there.
I don't know.
SAE
Maybe
and SDC,
people did
that,
realize that
lane one
SDC
really
was
hung
not.
out there.
Yeah.
Really
That's
pushed
too
to try
early
to
to
get that
show.
spacing.
Yeah, I
Yep,
know, but
that was too early.
SDC zero, but you
That
were
was
straight
me.
enough to keep that going.
That was you?
Start rolling away.
And here's where you
Yeah,
think
you
they start
gotta take it a little
separating.
longer
Just a
than
free
that.
roll here.
You know what though? It's a good day one shove.
Hey, get the SAEA, man. Great
Yeah,
job
these
coming over the
roads,
hills. You
but
guys
by
got a
this
good
point, we
buggy
knew
going. You're
Saturday
hauling.
was going to
And,
happen.
they're one of those teams. We talked about a lot of those B squads not going to make it to tomorrow. Maybe we
But
see
like
SAE tomorrow.
clearly, this was not
They're not
SDC.
pushing
I mean,
too hard.
look,
They know
SDC
they-
wins,
they-
so
How about
I
SAE
can't
just hit
call
a
them
56?
That's
too
what I'm
much.
saying.
But,
Maybe we're seeing that.
Lucy's
We can absolutely if the goal of alumni on a live stream watching old races is not to rag on the team that has been dominant for a decade, I'm not sure what we're doing here.
Little bit of wobble right there by SDC,
I mean,
and
how
this
is
the
I mean,
key
up until
early.
right now, like Lucy was within
Getting a
spitting
couple
distance
bobbles,
of
they're
Mount,
losing some
and
speed, but for them, the key is
it
just
just
to make
shouldn't
it
happen.
through.
I mean,
That's it.
Saturday's
Well,
their day.
people are. Who knows where they're going?
I mean, I know Eddie's not going to shed any light on this because it's towing the company line here. But if you notice, they did not put fairings on any of their buggies on race day. And based on their free roll times, I have to imagine that they did not prep their wheels nearly to the level that they have in following years. Why that happened, I have no idea, and I know they're not going to tell us, so I'm not even going to ask.
We know the answer.
Did you know?
Who cares?
I don't know the reason. I have theories, but that's it.
Again,
He's
trying to
not letting
go
that
out
buggy
with the
get away.
top time here.
It's the Flash.
Looks like they might have it. This is going to be close. 10, 11,
it's gonna
12. I'm going to go across.
You had no problem.
CIAA is number 1 going into finals, ladies and gentlemen.
I also mention
I've seen it all.
surprising to me at least, because I was a push captain in 2014, 2015. Was in 2016 after they paved the backhills, like every single pusher
Maybe everybody should call the camber
dropped
game.
straight second on a push.
And Millibuggy's
Just because they're just
I believe that.
Fringe C, that's
like 20-second hill fives became 19 seconds.
right. Wow.
Everybody suddenly became a superhero, basically.
And everything like that.
I didn't realize that roads on the back hills are contributing so much to.
CIAA, first for men's and women's going.
Yeah, I think
into
the biggest thing on that is
day
it
two.
it puts more
you
resistance on the
told me
buggies
that,
themselves.
like,
So
I
when you
knew
hit
they
the
were
buggy, it
looking
doesn't
good
just
this
bounce
year,
off your hands.
but
There's more
kudos to
resistance
them.
there.
My word.
Yeah, that would have
Now,
been
ladies
my
and
guess. Like
gentlemen,
when you shove the buggy on a nicer hill, it
CIAD
goes further.
men's
Actually, and I know some
Spirit
teams have
B
significantly
men's
better
and
data than
Fidel A.
I do about this, even though I've been curious about it for a long time.
And Spirit
But
B was looking
Can you
pretty
go
good
back
I think
on-
like
before
basically
that, that was one of
the top of the course
most
at what
exciting
Pico would call
races, or
tops
heats. I've
from
pretty
hill
much-
2 to the stop sign, or even before. Every year that gets repaved essentially is like a new course
Hold on.
record waiting to
What
happen.
did you want to go back to, Brian?
No, this is good. So look at Hill 2. So just while you have a pause. So this is reroll 1. So rerolls in 2015, they were trying to get as many in as they could.
Yeah.
So it's a mixed heat. There's going to be men's and women's teams here, but keep your eye on lane 2, which right now is Fringe Women's C,
It looks
pushing
like they may have
X1,
swapped it out.
and look behind her
Oh,
at Spirit's
Hey, but
truck.
they're ready to go.
there. That's good. It's a test run. All right. So we have in lane 1.
Because when you
Pointer.
Spirit
when you have
B
mixed
men's,
rerolls,
and lane 3
things
Fidel
get
A.
very confusing.
And Spirit
It turns
B was
out
looking pretty
Spirit
good, before
Spirit B
that,
was the
that was
team
one of the
given
most
this
exciting
reroll.
races
So you
I've
have
seen.
Well, they put a little
CIA
NASCAR speed
men's
tape
D in
on
lane
there, you know,
1,
they bolted some
Spirit
stuff
men's
on,
B
they
in
got it
lane
back
2
out of the
with
pits,
Seraph,
ready to go.
CIA with Impulse, and Fight Out Women's A with Perrin in lane 3. But this heat is
Things
also
underway
going to
here. Imagine
demonstrate
Spirit B
why
separate themselves a
you
fair bit.
shouldn't
The
have
biggest
more
question,
than
you
one
know,
team in a
are they
reroll,
able to get into that last stage?
which
No,
we
the
will
biggest question
see
is the guy
in
in
about a
lane 1
minute and a
gonna get
half.
beat by a girl. That's
Yeah.
what I want to see.
Oh yeah, D team getting beaten by the girl. Absolutely, that could
A
happen.
nice time by a B
He's
team.
still in his suit.
Spirit B just flying out there.
Oh, hill 2 for CIA in the full suit.
That's some
I-
commitment to stay in your suit all day. 'Cause if I remember, this day got pretty warm.
They might have bumped a little
Eventually, it's still pretty cloudy at the moment, but
You know, once you make that tie knot, you're pretty much committed. You're not going to be.
I would love to know if he
Battle
took
day.
the suit and then got back into it. When he found out.
that'd be a better question. I have a feeling he just didn't bring any other clothes to
Kind of
campus
close to
that
that
day
curb there. I might want to
until he left after the race.
But again, she's playing for a day 2 roll here, which I think they could get.
Yep.
It's a really good way to fuck up a suit.
Yeah.
I'm only bringing one pair of clothes today to Friday of Carnival, and it's a suit, and I'm gonna sprint in it in the morning.
And then I'm gonna go to Mario's in it at night.
Can't speak before
Yeah,
So
he
as
was,
we
he was a bit
said-
too young for that. Yeah, it's Andrew. Hey, what's up, Andrew? How's it going, man?
Third shoot turns.
Turn.
Watch this. Watch your turn.
Go get it, the buggy!
Go
get
get
it!
Here comes Hill 3.
Dude,
Hill 3. He's going for it. He's
Still have
taking
no
it
idea how
from
she
the
managed
chute,
that.
ladies and gentlemen.
But the best thing is the Hill
That
3
is
pusher for a
Spirit
while was like,
Buggy
oh yeah,
right
no, this
there.
thing's gonna come to me. And then when he
Taking it
realized
out
that
of
it
the chute
stopped, he
and
goes
pushing it
into a
all the
full
way up that
sprint.
hill.
And CIA still hasn't passed him.
Can you rewind that, Ben, so we can watch that
They're
again?
still ahead of CIA, ladies and gentlemen.
Get it!
Turn.
So here we go. Here's the entry.
They are coming around.
I mean, just realize that if the double rails continue all the way down the chute, this isn't possible.
Turn. Go get it.
Yeah, just
Go
barely.
get the buggy!
Go
Yeah,
get it.
like
Get it!
Here comes Hill 3.
so close.
Hill 3.
Tokyo
He's
drifting.
going for it.
And
He's
also,
taking it from
all the
the chute,
I don't know if you
ladies
can hear
and
it on the
gentlemen.
broadcast because I have it.
That is
executed.
Spirit Buggy
ball
right
was
there,
screaming in the
digging
chute
it
to
out of
help
the
push
chute and
for
pushing
her
it
to
all
make the
the way
turn
up
and then
that
for the
hill.
military push to
CIA
push him
still
down.
hasn't passed him.
Because again, if
And
you
they're
hit
still
something, it
ahead of
rolls over.
CIA,
But if you
ladies
don't
and
hit
gentlemen. Oh
anything,
my.
you can kind of keep going.
Yeah,
What
Uh-oh.
happened
Absolutely.
there?
Somebody went straight through the chute.
Of course,
know what?
assuming
When
the
they
driver's
spun out,
okay with
they
it. I
gave
don't know
stop
that anyone
flags.
ever asked the
They
driver,
gave
"Can I
stop
keep
flags.
pushing you?" But she doesn't seem to mind.
Props right
Oh,
there.
right, and
That
this is
was,
why Men's D got another
Jordan
reroll because
Marion
they had
there,
they threw stop
running all
flags.
the way down into
Yeah,
the
so
chute to
right.
fix
That's
that.
right.
But yeah, their stop flags came out, so that's why there's only one team finishing because the flaggers just assumed once Spirit spun, that's the end,
Roberto and Dia,
not
he's gonna hand
realizing
that
that they
off
were going to
right
make it
there
through.
to Alvin
You know what
Bobo.
though? It was the right call because she
Go
was
Alvin.
just sitting there, kind of like a dead duck in the middle of the chute. If they had time to do a safe stop flag, it was the smart thing to do.
Well, and given
To
what
do.
spacing they had, it looked like CIA would have been right behind. So probably as soon as she spun, they were telling them to throw flags because what else would you expect the outcome of that to be? Not
Yeah.
not hit the bales.
Time of the
That
day.
came
Yeah.
in with A by A.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
just look. Fight Out Women's
As
A
good
was
of
part
a
of the
day as
reroll
CIA
here,
has
but
had,
now
what an
they're. I
absolute
mean,
nightmare.
we're gonna see because Impulse will get a second reroll coming in 2 heats.
There is not
But
a
Fight
better team out there on the
they
course. They are
they're
one of the
tired.
hardest
They've already
working.
pushed
They have
twice
the
today.
best
They don't want to push
attitude
the third
of
time,
no
so they
women's
just give
team
up.
out here.
So Fight Out
It's a
doesn't
real shame
officially
to
have
see
a
that.
women's time in 2015.
Yeah, it is because it's a wheel problem for them.
What
What was
Carl
hilarious
the-
is that they ended up pushing the buggy back up the hill.
They really jammed up those
That's Carl
pneumatics.
Glazer in
When they had
the
those things
CIA shirt,
safe, they'd make it
who
through all
was
the time,
our
and they were fast.
A Hill 2, I think,
And
or
now,
B
when
Hill
they went
2.
to these urethanes, they'd had
For this,
trouble
yeah,
with
he was
these
B Hill
buggies. I
2
don't
for
know
this
if
year.
it's a buggy urethane
And
fit or what, but,
that's Peter
you know, I'd
picking
like to
up.
see him
So
get through there.
he was
Thank
Peter
God their men's team made it
Carl
through.
was
They're
down in the
gonna
chute,
do
just
that's
watching,
great.
be like,
And it
I'll
looks
be
like
your through the chute
CID
since you didn't
dug
get
their
that.
buggy out of the chute as well.
I
You
just
know-
don't know why they didn't put the buggies in the back of the truck and why they had people
Well,
push
had
it
to
back
get
up
to
the
top
hill.
somehow.
It's
You
B
might as
team,
well
I don't know,
push it,
or
right?
D team, I don't know.
Does anybody know the record for the?
I misspoke.
This is probably pretty slow.
These
right?
are
I'm
official
talking
times.
modern era. I'm talking
Now,
modern
CIA,
era.
now CIA gets another
My
reroll.
old
Fine.
house.
This explains. There's a
It's still probably
there's a
somewhere
trivia
around 5
question
minutes.
about
Still
which
5
team
5
has
minutes. So there
the
you go,
biggest
CIA. You're not the slowest ever.
improvement in a
Oh,
women's
man,
You're in
wouldn't it have
first
been
heat
cool
in a
to have
single
them
year,
at the top
and it's
the
Fight Out
slowest
in
record of all time? I
2016
mean, come on.
because
That would be-
officially
The
their
Hill
women's
Five
A
guys go.
time in
Don't-
2015 is a
I'm
5:09.13
surprised no one does.
Yeah, especially with the
because they
bubble.
didn't put it back in the truck. They kept pushing,
Right.
which
CIA's Hill 2 did earlier
they're
today.
allowed to do, and so they got a time. But I guess because again they
Alright,
pushed
coming through
twice,
here.
so
Gonna be
it's
sub
hard to
5.
get
And they chose
again.
not to race again
Great.
or get another reroll.
Sub 5. Sub
Yeah.
430.
Which I'm not-
Quite.
I think one of the pushers.
CIAD closing
I
things
think one of the
out there.
They
pushers.
may not have set a record,
I don't know if she pulled something or if she was cramping, but basically it was like, yeah, she was physically unable to do another race,
Well,
and they just.
no, they're not.
No, they're not!
Oh wait,
Men's
well,
time.
yeah, men's time. Men's time. Phi Delta A. Good to see them coming through there. I know
So
it
at
looked
the
like
end
they
of this
lost to
day,
Rome, but they're
Eddie,
still-
what were
they're
you
still
guys thinking going into day 2? Because I imagine that at least on the women's side, you were far enough back that it was probably like, well, we're gonna have to settle for something, which SDC doesn't do. But on the men's side, were you guys confident that you could pull this off?
In case you're wondering.
On the women's side, I
Kind
mean,
of academic at this point.
the main thing we were a little bit unsure about was, I mean, we missed the hill 2 shove.
Spirit
So,
C and
I mean,
Fringe
at the
C.
same time, realistically,
Then we're
looking
good
back
with
on
everything
it,
from
that's not
the
going to make up the time.
But there's a lot of exciting stuff to look
yeah,
forward to tomorrow.
yeah.
Both.
And then on the men's side,
Some pretty tight stuff.
I would
The
say
fact
that we thought we had a shot,
CIA on the
but
women's
that
side has
was
a 5-second
pretty.
lead.
Yeah, see right here though. She
At least
was
that was
doing
my
a good job,
thoughts,
and then she
but I
was-
definitely kept that to
all the way
myself.
sideways.
I don't want to discourage
And she's
the other
like,
people.
she's
on
like,
my
wait, I haven't hit anything yet. I can keep rolling.
And just look, he starts.
So
going
did you
right
guys
there.
make any? You didn't make any lineup changes for the second
You
day,
see
right?
him
It was the
come
same
into
guys.
frame, just flying, digging it. That
Yep,
was
just
fun.
the same guys.
Fly buggy, man.
That is, that was cool.
So I don't know what the if I don't know.
I mean, yeah, I guess
on that. Like, the
Thinking back, I guess we had, other than Fringe, we had like the biggest drop in time from
I
day
don't
one.
know if they threw a break flag for those guys or not.
Yeah, I don't know. A few people ran a little bit faster, if I remember my timing afterwards, and
just to kind of set things up,
transitions were slightly better. Better Hill 2 shove, I guess. And then a slightly faster Hill 5 at the risk of almost not.
You have Pika A right behind them at 243. SDCA 244.
I think that's the only time I've ever seen a dive work.
get beat 246, and then Apex A
Yeah.
It's the only time
I've seen it a
like in
couple
the races
times.
I've been to in person.
Yeah.
Spirit
I've heard
This
stories.
is,
I
uh,
remember
this
the
is-
next year.
Doing it for CIA.
Yeah, I could see Piker SDC.
Next year there were a few different dives, and I remember because I was just
We'll
straddling.
have to see how that goes.
Yeah.
CIA had such decent roles.
None of them worked, and I was like, okay, well, that was.
You never know.
Yeah, there
I could
was
see
the
SDC
like
I
Apex
see girls go from one
Women's
day to
where
the
it's
next
like,
in shape
or
of 5 seconds.
I think it was Apex where it's like she
You really never
dove
know.
and got to it like a split second after the buggy had crossed the finish line.
That was 15 finals.
Oh, okay.
2016, one of the Apex Men's. I think I want to say it's Apex Men's A.
Apex Men A final. Phil
Yeah, he
had like a Superman pose. He was so far out.
Yeah, it was a really nice looking dive. I think he caught it roughly when he passed the finish line. It was the buggy crossed the finish line, and I was like, wow, man, I hope you didn't get hurt because that looked really nice, but you were nowhere close to.
Oh, I think in this case, to add insult to injury, Spirit's team beats their B team, and then they ended up disqualifying their B team, as it is written in the rules that they should be disqualified. Which some way, somehow, Apex has gotten around the last 2 years.
Wait, what? Say that one more time?
So it's getting kind of crowded in there.
So
Small
yeah, go ahead,
dispersion
Connor.
in a 10-second window.
Which McHugh, I know where McHugh is going with this, so I'm going to defer to him.
I'm going to dominate this live stream with my words as soon as you.
It's tough. It's not
I have nothing to add. I've yielded the floor to the
Give you no
congressman
springboard.
from California.
No, but I mean, say it one more time. So like it was about rank DQ, right?
Yes, rank DQ.
Which is the most made up DQ in history and doesn't exist. I think is the and I made it up.
Let me give the background. So for those of you who don't know, if you're newer, there is something in the rules called a rank DQ.
No, there isn't. There isn't. No, don't. These clarifying statements. There is nothing in the rules that says
if your B team beats your A team, or C beats B, or D beats C, anything like that, if the lower seeded team beats the higher seeded team,
yeah.
I believe technically it's the losing team gets DQ'd. So if
find me the rules. Like post the rule in the chat so I can yell about it.
Fine. While this is known as one of the many Pika rules because Pika messed with some things with A teams and B teams back in the day.
No, they did. Oh my gosh, Brian, you're driving me nuts here. I'm gonna give you the history of this rule and why it doesn't really.
Pull up the rules. Give you the exact instance in which that rule became a thing. But go ahead.
Regale me. Yeah, well, in 2003, KDR was not very good at Buggy, which was a lot of years, and the B team nearly beat the A team. And Justin Dauber, who was our head mechanic for a decade, came up to me and he was like, "Wow, it's a good thing they didn't because they'd be DQ'd." And I'm like, "Well, I'm just a pledge. I don't know what's going on." And then you fast forward 5 years, and I'm head judge, and so I saw it's like B team beating an A team, and it was like 16th and 18th place or whatever. So I'm like, "Oh, they got disqualified because Justin Dauber told me this thing a billion years ago." And in retrospect, unless the rules have changed since then, and I think they might have, I think they actually got clarified recently in a way I didn't like. But for many years, I think 2015 was included in that. There was no. First of all, there's no disqualification consequence for it. Second of all, it's not a real rule. Third of all, because it was phrased something like your B team shouldn't be faster than your A team, which is like fine. That doesn't. I mean, I don't think Pika had sort of like nefarious stuff for it. Decades earlier where they were trying to game. There's no advantage to doing that. And then. Yeah, I mean, I guess you could get into a heat you're not supposed to and be faster, but like, why wouldn't you just be in the heat you are supposed to be in and not hit anything, right? Like you're risking.
You have somebody that you know.
There's a lot going on there.
What were you saying,
so
I was going to say that the concern was that you could basically try to like backmark other teams, especially if you have like a C team and a B team. Then you can you basically stack your C team with what should have been B team pushers, contend the front hills, make them pass you in the free roll, like a team that will compete with your A team or something. Basically, like screw with teams that way. But yeah, I agree. It's like a very edge case.
If you have fast pushers that are going to beat your rival up and over, right? Like put them on your A team, put them on the team that they should be on, and like race correctly. I think like when you actually due to logistics of it, doesn't work out like that. But
in theory, if you have like a day 1 and a day 2, you could put your A team pushers on your B team against like SDC's A team, slow them down to get them like a lower seed time, and ensure that you have the later heat or some shit like that. And then in the next day, you just do a pusher swap.
If you think that you're gonna put your B team on a heat against SDCA and beat them up and over to make them slow down, that is like the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. That's like, and this is one of those rules like the pacing DQ thing where it's like it's not real. It doesn't like actually happen. All it does is two things. First of all, it disqualifies teams that don't deserve it because when I was head judge, this was a big mistake where like some 18th place team, I had to go and be like, oh, actually you're disqualified. And they're like, oh, who gives a shit. But so it reduces participation, and then B, it makes people who love rules more, which is annoying.
All right, let me jump in here to explain. Section 10.5.2 of the rules, under the category entries, says in each class of competition, each organization's entries must compete in the heats designated, sorted from fastest to slowest in the order A, B, C, D. Any violating this order shall be disqualified from the race competition.
So that rule did not exist for years and years and years, and I think it was only in the past couple years because when Apex was almost DQ'd because their B team trophied and their A team was really slow, they were trying to DQ them, and that was the only time it actually became of consequence. So it's like, this is ridiculous, don't DQ them. They didn't, and then the next year they're like, but we're going to codify the bad thing into law. I think it's a stupid rule. I think the way it was originally written when I was in school is like, you know what, your B team should be slower than your A team, which is true. But like a lot of stuff can happen over race day where that might not be the case. Like there's a lot of weird circumstances. I don't think the answer to that is to disqualify the team that's like in those weird circumstances.
Well, especially if we want it to be a race.
So I will say, going back, as clearly as early as 2011, that was a rule.
It was that. Oh my God, Brian. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Because the precedent existed when I was head judge and like years afterwards, and they kept doing it. And I think it's like the, and it's hard picking a tough category, but like the worst thing I ever did to the sport was like introduce this thing that Justin Dauber told me on Carnival in 2003 as like a canonical rule of sweepstakes, and then now it's codified into law, and it's terrible. It shouldn't exist. I think it's dumb.
I just think it's been codified a lot longer than you think it has.
I promise you it hasn't.
I don't have access to old copies of the rules, so
guess who does?
If it's you, can you please open to section 10.5.2 of whatever old copies of rules you have?
You can't see it, and actually it's gonna lose the effect, but I'm doing that thing with my hands where I make it into a microphone and like yell through it, you know what I mean? Like I cup it around my mouth and yell because I want this point to get across. But like that section did not exist. Like I can't read 10.2 because there was no thing. It like existed years later. But hang on, I'm gonna go to this Buggy directory.
Which
is a wasteland.
Completely ignored X1's reroll in reroll number 2, where, as Aubrey points out in the chat here, the Hill 1 pusher tripped up Hill 1, and she went down to get the Buggy as the Hill 2 pusher, which should have been a transition DQ. But looking at the official results, I do not see a DQ for Fringe C. I do see a Fringe B withdrawal, and I see Fringe D with a did not start because Beacon never came out to the line. But I see Fringe C coming in 12th, so you may have gotten away with something, Aubrey. Just saying.
I mean, yeah, usually if you don't make a day 2 time, sweepstakes just doesn't bother to DQ you. And I guess to follow up on the whole rank DQ thing, sweepstakes usually does try to exercise some discretion. Because like fishtail in the chute, turn, or mechanical failure, like a minor mechanical failure, such that you can still continue the race, etc. Usually they win finals and then men's finals.
I'd
certainly one of the more controversial.
I'd agree with you. I'd agree with you, and that's a good policy. But like the right thing to do is just remove the rule that requires inconsistent and discretionary application. Right, where it's like if sweepstakes can see a thing and be like, oh, that didn't count because like that's silly. Right, they shouldn't have that rule. There should be like a clearer rule. maybe not to the point of an infinitely stiff rod or like having to do calculus on like a curve, but like there should be like a more explicit rule about what actually.
Okay, McHugh, worst rule. The rank DQ or the pencil test?
There is no pencil. You guys, what is like with you guys making up rules? The pencil test. It's a Josh Hickson special, and where he wants to stab buggies. All right, sorry. What was the stupid? It was 10 point whatever.
10.5.2.
But
5.2.
this is Exhibition Heat 1 on Saturday. This is Pika Men's A. Because they DQ'd. Originally, I think it was supposed to be something else, but they let their men's team push.
So
So
this
this
is going to be some form of alumni or pledge heat or something like that.
I'm going to paste in the rule from 2009 because I date the different versions of the bylaws that I have, and you can tell me whether or not this meets your criteria. Oh, it's too big. I'm going to put it in Discord.
Yeah, Discord's the place for that.
Pretty nice transition there in the Hill 3.
Absolutely.
Hey, I'm going to go to the finish line, see if I can't see the time over there.
All right, let's go ahead.
Oh, and we got the burn-in.
I guess that was pretty similar.
I will
guess it
say,
was pretty similar. But the last part where it's like the determination, matters a lot. Was that not in the version that you read, Brian?
Obviously, they want to try and put something.
yeah, no, that's the next sentence. It's in the determination. It's not a guaranteed DQ.
All right, hang on. I have an older version because I'm not going to let this go.
Yeah, I think the end sentence. The ending sentence was determination of whether or not an entry is violated. This rule should be made collectively by the sweepstakes advisor, executive committee, all judges, and anyone else designated by either the sweepstakes advisor or the sweepstakes chair.
Apex last year.
Oh my god. All right, here's one from 2008. Let me find it in this one.
Blame yourself for this. You DQ'd Fringe in 2006.
I DQ'd. You have to be more. I DQ'd a lot of people. I mean, a lot of years.
2006 was your year, right?
I believe they're right.
As safety chair?
I was safety in 06, yeah.
Well, I guess I guess technically you didn't DQ them, but in 2006, Fringe Men's B was DQ'd for because their C team beat them.
But that's what I'm saying. In what year?
2006.
I did that, and that sucked, and that was wrong and incorrect, and I've been spending the last 15 years trying to make that no longer a thing because I think it's dumb.
Clearly,
Wait, Jess Thurston was the driver that you got disqualified, right?
Plausible.
Because I feel like she's the kind of person that would continue to hold it over your head until this day.
Here we go. All right. Here is one from 2000. So the reason I have 2008 and 2009 is because apparently in 2008 they changed this rule. And so I'm going to post the old one as soon as I make double sure that I have all of it. And, sorry, keep talking. I'm going to come back to this, but I'm just going to shout when I find it because
this is an exhibition heat. So this is Apex, Fringe, and CIA. CIA is Arnold Blinn, CIA alum from the early '80s, who loves us a lot. Oh yeah, it's Arnold Blinn. This was only his third or fourth year pushing a monocoque, and the first time I remember watching him from the follow truck, I just remember him starting to push up the hill, and then eventually it just sort of got away from him, and he's like, oh. You could physically tell in his gait that he's like, oh, I can push away from this and like run normally. Oh, because he was so used to all of the older CIA buggies of Black Magic and Stealth and those from the early '80s that were much heavier.
Okay, so looking at what McHugh just put up there, all it's saying is the rule was still. It just didn't necessarily mean a DQ.
Yes, that's exactly right. Like the fact that they wrote in the completely unnecessary, and then you're going to get disqualified if you fuck it up. Like part of this, I think, is a really, really bad rule. That's how it used to be prior to the clarification. The clarification was stupid.
But without the DQ language, it's like, all right, well, we didn't do that. So what are you going to do about it?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is that in 99.9, I'm going to say 100. In 100% of cases. Right? It's unintentional when slower designated teams finish before their faster counterparts. I think there's no competitive advantage, and nobody's doing it on purpose, and they shouldn't ever be DQ'd for it.
that is demonstrably false because of why it's there to begin with.
Tell me the apocryphal story that you have in your head where you think that this rule originated from.
It was Pica in 1983.
You made that up, you maker-upper.
So
Colin, this is
Pica,
great.
What happened there?
Pica had it's the year that Pica beat one, and the reason they won is because they said, "Oh, we used the wrong buggy," so they swapped their teams.
That's happened several times.
No. I mean, completely swapped. Like A became B.
Come on, get it, man.
Not like, oh, they took their 18 pushers and put them on B, and then the B team didn't exist. Like they took their B team, their A team labeled Pica B, and their B team was labeled Pica A.
So they swap them, which you're allowed to do because you have alternates.
No, it was because of who they were going up against. It was because they were going up against Beta, and they wanted to like piss off Beta or something. I forget it.
Oh, I forgot about this.
I'll have to read the actual article. Go back and read the 1980s in the History of Buggy series. You'll read all about this to become part of the rules when they redid them in, I think, 87 after the fire.
You are correct in that Pica B beat Pica A by 9 seconds in 1983, which is, first of all, really impressive. I'm sorry for saying that you made it up, but I think that like it's still stupid.
What was happening? It was a whole story where like one of the Pica people after the A team put up, or it was actually a reroll because they Pica B and Beta A collided during the actual finals heat. And so, like, they came out afterwards and said, like, a Pica person was asked, like, what's going on? And either around Pica, it may have been around Pica A's team, but it was asked what's going on, and it's like, just wait, you'll see. And then, sure enough, during the reroll, Pica B sets the course record.
Because I'm gonna pull something on hill 2. That's the Pica team coming up. Then that's the average age.
Exhausting. I don't know. I'm still salty about this particular rule. I think it's a dumb rule. I think it's one of those rules that exists to make people who like rules to have more rules and to disqualify teams that don't deserve it. Potentially in the 80s, yes, Pica was Pica and like had some sort of like weird game theory competitive advantage, but I think the overwhelming majority of times it's not the case.
Yeah, I would say the interest in it these days is probably not the same as it was when it was created or when it first got worded.
I am running a never-ending campaign against it.
Ooh, that's a hit.
I did not see what happened.
Oof.
It was whoever's the hill one for Pike really took a dive. Yeah, here we go.
I'll be honest, I was looking at my work emails.
That seems more reasonable. Oof! The buggy was too light for him. He could not keep up with how quickly he was able to push it.
Saves the day.
Brian, I put the 2008 bylaws in Discord. Sorry, it took me that long to figure out how Discord handles files.
If you look at who came down to the bottom of hill, to the top of hill 1 to pick up that buggy.
Yeah, Bordick.
Andy Bordick, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. He had to push a really long way.
Yeah, he mentioned that just before the heat. He was, I've got to go pull something. Is how he did that. And then he gave the rosters to Will to read out.
Unfortunately, he was not the one to pull something.
No, he wasn't. What do you mean, unfortunately?
Well, I feel bad for the other guy who I believe was older than him.
That sounds about right, yeah. I mean, I feel bad for him too, but...
I think the hill 1 pusher was 55?
That's about...
Isn't that, I thought that was like the average age of the...
No, the average age was 46. I think the hill 1 pusher was the oldest guy, though.
Gotcha. Yes, that sounds about right. Bad year for hill 1 pushers. Absolutely, Aubrey. One of many.
Now here's the interesting thing. Watching Spirit.
The previous exhibition heat, by the way, with Tech CIA and
yeah,
I forget who it was.
With the training drivers.
Yesterday, so
yeah, it was originally supposed to be all drivers. Like
Right.
all 3 teams were drivers, but then yeah, it didn't.
By the way, look at the clock at the moment.
Here comes Pika.
When we had the clock that was out in the open.
But here comes the boss Moss.
Evan Moss.
Oh yeah.
One of the most yoked men
Piker catching up, and then Evan Moss takes over.
Yep.
You talk about a grudge match. What more do you want than this? Piker picking up tons of
I think that was Dave Connolly on the bottom who did the frog pose.
Looking to get that a little bit more separated. Maybe a little bit more junior than JT Scott pushing right next to him. But he got some separation
JT Scott,
right there.
that's
They go to the
Corey.
4-5 transition. And then this is all about these
Corey
last couple
McDonald.
pushers here. Corey McDonald,
There
for
we go.
Spirit, trying to keep that lead, maintain it, and he is flying.
Oh, that was
right
the Pike guy. I see.
Look at
Yeah.
that.
This is an impressive.
Yeah, the whole one person that went down was Steve Farrell, who was 55.
Gotcha.
Going. This is almost a day 2 time. 2:34. Wow.
For that year, yeah.
Last year, that would have been one spot out.
Piker gonna come through. Obviously missing a little bit on that hill one. 242.45.
Imagine how close that would have been without that.
I know.
That would have been right
All
there.
right, first actual heat. Here we go.
That was a heck of a race there.
31.
Congratulations.
There we go.
My hardest problem.
Did we hear Will say that at least there's no vomit on the course?
I think you might have mentioned that just before I
Well, the buggies
popped
are on the
over.
line.
Yeah.
Is that one of your moments that you have collected?
Great conditions for
Yeah, I do have notes about that one.
exactly what you want for a carnival.
Doesn't get better than
For a
this.
race day final.
If you'll notice, the SAE driver's name is Eileen Wu because SAE's tendency is when they build a buggy to name it after the previous driver.
Mm-hmm.
So Eileen is driving Lucy. The next one that they will build is named Eileen, who is driven by Larry. So we'll see if their next new buggy is Larry.
That'd be great.
Chandler Caulfield, believe member of the
Jilly.
women's basketball team, so you know she's an athlete.
Already got a 2 buggy.
I remember talking to her at orientation and then being really sad that she didn't drive for CIA.
Fringe in our team.
So
John
that's okay.
John Deezer told me one time that he had a dream where Jilly decided that she was going to show him her real voice, because you remember she had that really, really high-pitched voice, and that she deemed that he was the only person trustworthy enough to hear her real voice.
It's awesome.
And what was her real voice? Does he not remember? Was it lost to the
He
dream?
I mean, I haven't talked about it in years. I imagine it was just like at like a normal level of like speak.
No, it's actually it's like the guy who does like the EA Sports intro. Like yeah, like, really
sports. It's in the game.
Yeah, that's how she talks normally.
I got a couple seconds faster than they were there yesterday, so.
She
I
has
just
to
saw
hide
a
it.
TikTok with that guy.
Well, yeah, because if she spoke like that, nobody would look at her when she spoke. Like, who's
I would immediately look to see you talk like that.
Well, they keep looking for somebody else.
Is it that 4'11" girl over there who's introducing EA Sports?
Like imagine like everyone's just sitting there waiting for like the race to start. You hear like someone go 30 seconds, and then from the middle of it, make sure you get out of the way. Do not get 5 second DQ'd.
Yeah, she's doing a really good job right now making, doing every movie trailer in the world.
Really gave her some good roll up instead of the hill 3.
She's the honest trailers guy.
Well, if she had timed it a little bit better.
I actually haven't heard from her since she graduated.
Aspen McKeever, one of my favorite names.
Neither do I, or have I, but I have no reason to have. So,
Me neither.
About to get to that transition, 4 to 5.
I think I've seen her at Raceday, and that's
Buggy got
about
away
it.
a little bit, one last shove, and here's the hill 5.
She looked fast.
By the way, McHugh, one more benefit to the rank DQ.
Tell me, give me your hottest fucking takes on this.
It allows for me to repeatedly harass my own A team, telling them, you better push faster, because if your B team passes you, you're going to get DQ'd, which almost happened to AEPI in 2010.
I covered that when I said it lets rule people like rules more, where it's like, I know a rule about something that happened in 1983 that's possibly made up, and you should get DQ'd for it. AEPI.
Should be a faster day than that today, and I would expect some of the other teams really.
Oh, they didn't come back. Okay.
It did take a nice 5 seconds.
I don't think AEPI needs more ways to get DQ'd, Brian.
Makes them more of a contender than if they put up.
Yeah, we've come up with enough creative ways. I mean, we look, rank is like the only DQ that API hasn't had, and it's
You know
not
why?
like
Because it's not real. First of all, you're not trying to collect them all, right?
All right,
It's
so
not,
next year
you're not
on
like,
the broadcast, intermission, Will and the other broadcasters run away. Brian and Adam, you guys stick around and duke it out on stage.
having a Lincoln Douglas debate about the rank DQ. We'll sit there and be like, okay, we've scheduled 90 minutes for Brian and Adam to debate a rule that was formed in 1983. High ratings. This is what the people want.
I mean, Willie's got the actual point, which is that it encourages teams to take better times and thus make the sport safer.
Yeah, certain teams are known
That's-
for not really
that's
timing,
Nick-
as Dave
that's-
pointed out in the live stream chat.
I was going to say that's an extremely Pike opinion. That's like a Pike opinion where they have like a whole wing of their fraternity dedicated to being like thumbs and timers and stuff like that, right? Like a lot of these smaller organizations simply can't, and as a result, they shouldn't be penalized and more likely to DQ based on that because they fuck up like rank stuff in good faith, you know?
So as much as I want to rank DQ, this is one of the more important heats of the day. This is Allison Lim on Saturday in Ascension as the CIA-B, because she was too good a pusher, so she had to push A team, so she could only drive B. She is in Ascension. Malice way ahead right now, but clearly SDC was not on their game in 2015. I don't know how they won men's.
Hey,
I guess
Allison's in the chat. What's up, Allison?
because they already had a 10-second advantage over everybody else, so they can afford to lose it and still win. But things are about to change. Oh, hey, Allison. You're about to have some. Hope this isn't like traumatic memories, because this one in particular is crazy. The spirit, the pass in the men's is whatever, but the women's one, I don't know how you squeeze through. I'll be honest.
Stay right with her. Stay right behind her. You're there.
And who would think CIA
That wipeout. So Malice would have stayed ahead had she not slipped out.
I don't have words.
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
Yeah. So only because SDC did the SDC thing and drift a little bit, especially super late like
She was
that.
able to keep her calm and stay right in that pass, even when she saw the SDC driver sliding in front of her.
Locked in.
At least this is probably one of the better hill fours you'll ever see in your life, though.
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. She is pumped up.
Also, you don't get it in the video, obviously, but if you go onto the BA website and you look at the photos of Ascension's passes on
Yeah.
Saturday, there is a little girl. I don't know how old she is. 5, 6. I'm terrible at this, but there's a little girl in like a flowery type of jacket, and her facial expressions during the passes are incredible. And I've so to post them like just zoomed in on social media, but I feel like zooming in on like a 5 or 6 year old's face is a decision.
Yeah, not recommended. Not recommended for that. Yeah, Allison, as it turns out, it was super close. Had both Malice and Ascension been the same wheel layout, there would have been an incident. The fact that Ascension was a reverse trike and Malice being forward trike is the only reason that they did not impact, given the lines.
It seems that they passed their drops. They didn't have anything else that would have caused them to have.
So throwing this over to Eddie. Now at this point, you guys, it's pretty clear that you guys had lost, but I imagine that your driver now, was probably a little bit concerned going into the men's races. Did you guys have any conversations regarding like how she was feeling and how to get her on track to focus on that shoot turn for the men's race?
I think their goal is going to be try to get into
I mean, I imagine it must have happened somewhere. I'm probably the worst person to ask because I was push captain that year, so it was my job to rally the troops on the pusher side. So honestly, like I don't doubt that someone did this. Probably like some combination of the other drivers and mechanics that interacted more with her in the truck, but
Yeah, I don't know if we can get a story of that. I was thinking that too.
Gotcha.
All raced it.
Behind a BT buggy.
Yeah, yeah, I totally was not paying attention that CIB dropped 17 seconds
looks like we're getting
plus.
Apex there onto the course.
How did they drop that much time?
Pike coming
Right?
out as well.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
All adrenaline on the back hills is my guess.
Second last.
I guess.
Yeah, it should be good heat. I really want to see
And
Pike
some
get
ungodly
their,
wheel prep or
get their
something.
full team together
Yeah.
and perform the way they can. We know this bike can roll fast. This hill one will tell us a lot what's going to
By
happen.
the time you start to slide, there's not much you can do. Anyway, that's real true, Allison. At that point, you were where you were, and there was nothing you could do about it. Yeah, there was no way you could have swerved around or avoided or anything like that. And
I've got a reason for part of the 17-second improvement, which was that the Hill 2 push in 2015.
Oh, that's right. Oh, I totally forgot
That's
about
not-
at least slipping. Yes.
Yeah, that's not totally a 17-second pickup, but
No.
it's
It's at least 5.
yeah, it's a sizable pickup.
Yeah. Like the restart time and then not having the momentum to carry you over the top. That would definitely add up, but and then I guess if you get a worse push off going off, that could be where your other 10 seconds come from.
Yeah.
So, just touching on the importance of weight of the buggies, the difference in the Hill 1 time on the Apex from Ember to Phoenix was 2 seconds slower on day 2. And yet they still cut, I think, 15 seconds off solely from the fact that Phoenix actually can get down the hill.
Damn. Yeah.
Really good time.
I loved this heat. I think this is my favorite heat from the past 10 years.
Why?
Like Apex.
Is this not the one where Apex passes? Oh no, it might have been Pika B. What was the Pika? There was a Pika Apex heat that was fairly no, yeah, it definitely wasn't this. But it was like Pika B versus Apex B or Apex A or something, where Apex passes them in the chute.
There was Pike B, Apex B, where Apex caught up to Pike on Hill 3. We never did actually pass them. That was on the men's side. But this is a great race.
I was gonna say, I said why, but then I realized that I was on the wrong heat on my notes, and actually this gets really exciting.
Yeah, it's good that we're all announcing our separate things that we're watching. it's like, hey guys, do you really think that Carol Baskin killed her husband? I think that's a really weird part of this scene. It's like, well, who's to say?
What have I been watching recently? Better Call Saul, I guess.
Dude, Tiger King's so weird. It's the weirdest show I've ever seen.
It, and I don't know if
Yeah.
Oh god, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch.
Ben, what are you doing?
avoiding
it's
that because it sounds awful.
It's a culture. No, it's a cultural touchdown.
Apparently,
You gotta watch
yeah.
it.
I missed
Comments
a number
about
of
what
these.
killed her husband that makes me not want to watch it.
It's so weird.
Yeah, here it
It's,
is.
I
Here it
don't
is,
know
the
if she
catch
did.
mark.
Yeah, no, maybe this was. No, this isn't. No, Connor doesn't.
I don't
But this was good.
This is I am fully convinced that had Apex in 15 focused on building a new wagon steering buggy like I had tried to get them to do, instead of trying to do whatever the hell they did, which was not building a buggy, that they would have not only beaten Pika A on this, because that's obvious, but they would have been 5 or 6 seconds faster. They would have been around at like a 241.
241 is an aggressively good time.
Yeah.
Both buggies
241's
now getting
great.
set down there on the course.
Oh, when CME TV had that scrolling
So
leaderboard.
much pressure here on
the
the
days.
CIA squad. You know, a lot of talk through the.
Are these the best driver pictures we had that year?
They're all team submitted. I mean, yeah.
Or do you mean, was this the best year that we had pictures, or were those the best pictures that we could have gotten?
Those pictures looks like CMU TV hired a private investigator who took one of those pictures you see in Goodfellas or something.
I forgot that Jess Foe was our Hill 1 for ATDC.
I remember this girl getting from Spirit got completely ripped off. Everybody had clocked her as Queen of the Hill, and she did not get the Queen of the Hill trophy.
This is the Spirit A pusher, right?
Yes.
The Spirit A push team.
CIA taking the lead
Who ended up winning Queen of the Hill this year? Was it the Pika A women's or?
I can't remember if it was Pike A. Yeah, I think it was the Pike A women's pusher, but this girl from Spirit was clearly the winner. It was like a full second faster than Pike.
And what she's used to that. Last year she had the 2 collisions with Pika, and that has definitely taught her how to handle that situation. She was very poised, very controlled, knew exactly what to
It is just amazing to see though how far Spirit has come on their free roll, because like on this race they were neck and neck and they were completely falling behind, and like if this race had been run last year, Spirit would be all over the back of CIA the whole free roll.
Willie pointing out in the comments that it was Pike A. Katie Lister was the Queen of Hell that year.
Is this CIA's year? 3 more pushers to go for the gold.
Spirit make it.
Oh, Rachel.
Rachel Brown's an absolute monster on Hill 3 here.
But Spirit make
God.
it too.
That push, every time I see it, is just incredible. I don't know what it is, but it's just like
pushes right there for Hill 3. That's what you like to see.
Gone.
Transition now 3
Were, were these pushers? Did they push in 2014 for CIA?
Did they push when?
The previous year, 2014.
I think in some form or another, but
Allison was not on campus, so she did not push.
correct. But she was pushing before that.
And that's a
Prior
difference in the
to
free roll.
her year
The
off.
Spirit
Mhm.
was not as strong as CIA's either. They were both fast up and over the hill, but CIA definitely got a better push.
Did anyone notice where that Spirit Hill 5 pusher was standing?
Yeah,
She was like in the middle of Hill 4.
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, they do.
And they're looking probably to do it here, ladies
Yeah,
and gentlemen.
Rachel was definitely pushing
Oh wow.
prior to
Gotta get your hand on
prior
that
to
push
that.
bar. We're at 230, 231,
Rachel, you pushed Hill 3 all 4 years, right?
235.67, ladies and gentlemen.
Willie's provided like a roster, women's roster in 2015. They had 2 track girls on day 1, but there was a track meet on day 2, so they had to replace them with alternates, and it was Katie's friends.
This is the same level of domination we saw from SEC over the field last year, at least on the women's
I'm
side.
curious, can you guys weigh in on?
Make fun of me when I said CIA's new SDC.
That's right.
It's coming to be.
I'm just curious if you guys know. Is it true that the track team coach like banned all his sprinters from doing track? It's like it seems like an urban legend that like comes and goes.
Because my team was largely track people, and I remember emailing. Yeah, no, we were lousy with track people, like chock full. I remember emailing Dario, who was a track coach, and being like, "I've noticed that UAAs are on the same day as race day. I just like to let you know that you're going to be missing 15 of your runners." And he was like, "No, like that's absolutely not the case. Sucks to be you." I don't know if they banned them, but
Well,
whatever.
so I do know that they don't like it when, or they, not maybe intentionally, but they definitely don't shy away from going to meets on race day, because they know that
Yeah.
a lot of the pushers, or a lot of the sprinters and other track people would do buggy and push, and they don't want them to get injured. Just like,
Yeah,
any
exactly,
other professional
like-
team would not want their people doing other things than what they're supposed to be doing.
Beautiful race right there.
Yeah, if I was Dario, who was like the cross country coach, and I heard that all of my best runners were going out at 11 p.m. at night and sprinting up hills based on the direction of some goober like me, I would not want that to be the case.
Yeah, the version I had heard by the time I was doing Buggy was that he wouldn't care that much if you weren't like a top sprinter, like not competing in UAAs or like whatever like conference championships they had. But if you were, then yeah, it was
Well, Nick
doing Buggy anyway due to injury risk. Really.
with Buggy, right?
Nick
Nick Bonadio?
Yeah.
Did he ever?
So I guess that wasn't necessarily the rule back in the early to mid 2000s.
No, it wasn't. But Nick's a special case. Like, one interesting fact about Nick is that he joined the track team for Buggy. He was like, I want to get faster, so he joined the track team and ended up setting 7 UAA records, which is, you're welcome, CMU track team. But like, if it came down to it and you were like, Nick, there's a track meet on Carnival, he would go to Carnival.
Good man, good man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, he pushed a 150-pound driver Buggy combo and was the fastest Hill 5 that year, so.
He did a 20-second Hill 5 with that pusher driver combo, and he did not bump and run. That's the other thing that's crazy
because
about it.
bumping and running is living in a state of sin, obviously. So that's why you didn't do that.
This one gets exciting. This is the first men's heat. We just watched CIAA women destroy the field and take their first trophy in 30 years.
Yeah.
Here, this is SIGEP B with Barracuda and SDCC with Bane. This is the only DNF of the finals, I believe.
Oh, was this when they shit one of their ceramic bearings out?
Why do
Yeah,
people
I
do
think
that?
so.
Case.
Full ceramic, just did not hold up.
Why do people do that?
I feel like I had this conversation very recently, and I think Andrea might know. But yeah, ceramic bearings, not a thing you should use. They might sound shiny, but that's what happens.
And I can't be bothered to test what the fastest bearing is, so I'm just going to go for the most expensive one. Woof! Oh man, that was a.
But all the data
awful.
sheets. Say,
Whoa!
Do we? All right.
You guys see the
It doesn't reveal any of
The
the.
FCC version, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, this was the year after Vice, so I would not be surprised if that person was like in charge of that.
Well, so that was Chris Stengel on the inside or on the outside of the bales, and then on the inside who ran out and actually grabbed the wheel. I don't remember her name.
Wait, I was gonna say, can you show the grabbing of the wheel? But I think we've
it's
got.
coming.
I mean,
Yep.
you can see in this replay exactly when the bearing sheds in Barracuda.
Very clear. There goes the wheel.
Bam.
There, she's already out and going.
Which was the year that Sigep did a good job?
Jump back.
Which was the year they got second place?
This year they got second
This
place,
year,
and
the
then
the year before that as well. This is their third in a row.
Yeah, okay.
there's like a cloud of dust as it hit the ground.
All right, I gotta jump off our 4:30 meeting soon.
All right, man. Thanks for joining us.
I guess
Good to have you here.
my comments for the men's races, which will occur, are that at least for the SDC side, yes. Honestly, 2014 was like a ridiculously fast push team, like unnaturally fast, and that the roads were about as shit in both years. And yeah, I guess that was mainly it. And then in 2015, at least my impression was that we were probably not we were almost definitely not the fastest, just straight up athletes. But I do feel like on finals day, we pretty much got every single transition right. And as a push captain, that made me pretty proud.
Totally stanced, ready to go.
I'd be proud of that. Absolutely. Sounds like we might be getting Luna in to join us. Hopefully, fingers crossed. We got Fringe, SAE. Ah, it's nice when you have the burn in.
I know some people like to
Missed
listen
that
to
from
music
the
right away.
day
They
one
used to
stream.
actually do psych music right before one guy would get it. He's in his own head.
Yeah, it's very nice to have.
Yeah.
The trivia points. The honorable Sir Bradley Hodge, according to Dave Singh.
Oh.
If you can spot 20 trivia points.
Was he knighted? Bradley Hodge? I don't know who this person is.
No, his given name is Sir. It's a really confusing name.
Gotcha. Bottom left. Okay. Okay. I might know who you're talking about then.
Now they have some time to just kind of let the buggy do what it
Does he look British?
Wait, is this Rubicon?
No, this is Lucy.
Yeah.
Can you not tell from the wheels?
No, well,
Yeah.
no, because didn't they retrofit Rubicon to take smaller wheels?
Yes.
Yeah, to smaller wheels, but those wheels were perpendicular to the ground.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, we haven't seen a lot of Lucy in this race so far.
Rubicon is a really interesting buggy.
Yeah, it's been through a lot.
Did you? I think it's okay to talk about the plate. Have you ever seen the plate inside of it?
I think I saw it once, but I don't. It was a long enough show that I don't remember.
They've been taking it wide in Hill 3.
So like the Starship Enterprise, how there's like a dedication plaque, like on the Enterprise, like Rubicon has a similar one that's like, here's the people that built it, here's the year that we built it, here's the name of this buggy, and it's embedded into the thing, which is cool because when you open it up, you're like, yeah, this is neat.
I think we did something like that with Renaissance when we built that, but none of the other ones that we built had as far as I know, that's something like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, KDR's version of that is I think somebody stole a stop sign and used it as sheet metal and pyro steering, which is, much worse than. That's 100% dead accurate, by the way. Like at some point, somebody stole a traffic sign because they needed sheet metal right then, which is just a level of procrastination not seen since me doing my work today.
That is impressive, and it just happened to be the right thickness.
I mean, in the sense that, like,
if they knew what that meant.
A little improvisation was part of it because of the right thickness. Do you think the team that like is stealing stop signs for sheet metal, has tolerances down to they care about how thick that sheet metal is?
More often, I'm surprised if it formed at all. Which I guess I assumed you didn't need any forming on it.
I was actually not there for that build. That happened my junior year of high school.
Gotcha.
So, McHugh, I have to ask, because there was a window that KDR built, I think, 8 buggies over a span of 2.5 years.
Oh, yeah, over 2 years. Yeah, this is great.
How did you end up with, when you were chairman, only having, 2 buggies to work with?
So the chairman in those years, which was 2000, 2001, his name was David Barrett, but he went by 40 Dog. Everybody called him 40 Dog.
Oh no.
To the point where it took a lot of time for me to remember his actual name. And he was a mechie, but he focused on rapid prototyping. So his solution to like making the buggy faster was not to build one buggy and fix it. It was to build as many buggies as possible and then replace the parts he didn't like. So instead, it's like a Ship of Theseus thing, right? It's like every time you would have a new shell or new guts or like whatever, he would name the buggy something else. And the one that we had at the end of that was Penthus, which is an extremely weird and interesting buggy. Also the only one I've ever pushed on Raceday. I have a lot of stories about Penthus, but it had our house record from 2001 to 2005. Because he actually, it was really good. I mean, he fixed all the parts that were slow. And Penthus is even more impressive because it ran on 10-inch pneumatics and it had an active suspension. And it was like 1 billion pounds.
Yeah, I can see that.
But that's why there are no buggies left over, because it was like, replace a shell, you just chuck the previous one because it sucked. There's one picture on CMU Buggy of, I forget what it is, but it's not an attractive buggy, which is one of his shells.
Of course, not to be confused with CIA's Tempest, which came out after this year.
Here we go into the shoot. SDCC had some issues with that
This
earlier, but they're 18. Able to make it through pretty clean right there.
That's one of the best lines I've seen them take all weekend.
That's a nice line right there.
There's Ember through the chute.
A lot of people.
Let's see that pickup right there. Not a ton of speed into the hill.
For a good roll, I'll take that every
Andrew,
day.
very confused. Yes, there were 2
Really
Tempests.
nice transition though with the hill 3 grabbing it.
Yeah. He
Absolutely.
caught that in stride pretty good. He seemed like he knew exactly what it was going to be.
CIA's Tempest is a little weird.
Having an 18 out there. These guys are, fairly
But no,
experienced.
not comparatively. It didn't have all those bells and whistles going on.
Really clean transition from 3
I think
So-
Tempest is the single weirdest looking buggy built in the modern buggy era.
It
Which
is
one?
very skinny. CIA's Tempest.
Tempest.
The pink one, pink and white.
He is fast.
I was asking questions before and did not have my hand on the push to talk.
I was wondering about that. Welcome back.
Other Tempest?
KDR's Tempest.
We didn't
When-
have buggy in Tempest.
You're losing the timing right there.
There was no
They had
KDR buggy in
Penthus,
Tempest.
Penthus.
Say it again?
Which is the buggy's name was Penthus, because every KDR buggy's P. So
Gotcha.
Penthus. So it's my favorite one-word buggy name. It's the Greek god of sadness, and the legend behind it is that when they were giving out things for all the gods to be in charge of, Penthus overslept And this is like canon in a Greek myth. Pentheus overslept, and he arrived late, and the only sphere of influence that they had left was sadness and like remorse. So he was in charge of that, and he wanted to do as good of a job as he possibly could with it. So if he sees anybody sad, he gives them as much favor as possible. He makes them as sad as possible, and he really like leans into it. So the moral of the story from Pentheus is that if you're grieving, grieve quickly and quietly, so you don't attract Pentheus's favor, which I think is a great name for a buggy. That was like the sixth one built in 18 months.
It looks like right now Fringe they have the time.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Okay, there we go. So it did sound a lot like Tempest, but it's not.
Yeah, that was more information than you needed, but yeah.
No, that was great. While we were watching the SDC grab the bar at the end there, and not.
I don't know if you necessarily think it's happening so fast.
Oh yeah, totally was not paying any attention to the video. Can you rewind so we can watch the dive?
Sure. And Lina, welcome. I see you in the chat there. If you want to join us on air, you can jump into the Discord, join us on the voice channel.
It was about a 212.
The only thing that I slightly dislike about the dive is that it was not a full Superman, and that he went down first.
Dude, he slammed his head off the concrete. He had a concussion.
Did he really?
Yes, he went to the hospital. He spent most of that night in the hospital.
I apologize. I did not know that, Jordan.
Oh, wow.
That is...
There's absolutely nothing but props. He laid himself out for this.
Oh yeah.
That is... Wow.
That saved their race.
I still think it looked cooler from the side camera with a full Superman, like the Fringe one back in 2004.
Oh, they look cool. But there's a reason that people don't want to do those.
Yeah, look at that for
I gotta say the Tartan grabbed a great photo of that finish where because of his hand grabbing the push bar and pushing down, the nose of Malice went like at least 6 inches into the air, and the Tartan managed to grab a photo of that. And it's pretty cool.
It sounds like the shot I got of Fringe catching early this actual school year, 2019. Towards the end of the fall.
Yes,
was that the first roll of 2020?
Similar, but Malice was further off the ground.
Right.
Yeah.
Pretty late release right there by Zach Anderson.
Is this the photo where Dave just stands back and watches all of the chaos?
I believe so. Welcome, Lina. Glad you could join us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Turns out the barrier entry is not as high as I had thought. And if you just click on the thing, you can. I mean, it's good. Hi, Lina. What's up?
No, if we had any barrier to entry, it'd just be me and Brian the entire time, and nobody wants that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wasn't invited. I just clicked a button. I didn't know what it did, and now I'm on a broadcast.
Yeah, honestly, the only reason I would say that not everyone should come in is because once you get a bunch of everyone's talking over each other.
Yeah.
But otherwise,
if we had that problem, we would start to organize it. But we don't currently have that problem. I'd love to have that problem, but we don't. Alp.
I think Sophia was an awesome announcer this year. She did a great job providing a driver's perspective on things.
Yeah, I need to rewatch and actually hear what she was talking about because I wasn't paying attention most of the time, but I'd love to have her back.
Oh, speaking of which, for those of you on here, the full 3.5-hour virtual race day is now posted on YouTube.
Yep.
The only downside from my quick run through of a couple of things is I think the volume on the races is like off.
It's off?
I don't know. Like from watching it, it's almost like it's basically dead silence when it's not Will or Mark.
It's very inaudible, and that was by design because if the broadcast was louder, it would overtake the commentators.
Right, but the volume on the actual day is, I think, louder than what we have on YouTube right now, where I don't know if you've seen what's on YouTube right now, but it is like there's not even like background noise. It's like dead silence.
I watched the beginning of it. I mean, I heard bits and pieces. But
Okay, maybe
it is very quiet. I agree.
wrong. I could easily be wrong, but
Eh.
Hey, if you missed it, actually,
I mean, one thing, if I really feel the desire, maybe I'll go back, strip the audio from the live thing, and put it over the actual race files.
Sure.
But
The box is still up if you want. By the way, McHugh, did you get that?
Sorry, what?
The box link?
I saw that you had replied to it. I did not check to see if it worked yet.
Okay. Yeah, you should.
But thank you, I appreciate it.
By the way, here in LA, it is like 95 degrees today, and my AC is not fully working. Like it wasn't working. Like it's just blowing. It's like the fan. But then I fixed it this morning. But now I'm watching as the temperature in my apartment quickly skyrockets. It's depressing.
All right, here we go. Nat Jeffries.
So yeah, this is the last. This is the last official heat. I think we've still got rerolls.
Yes.
Unless we skip them.
There are 3 rerolls.
Wait, did SDCB reroll at the end of the day? Was I wrong when I said they rerolled at the beginning?
Yeah, B rerolls at the end of the day.
SDC rerolled at the end of the day on Saturday?
Yeah.
What are you?
It's really embarrassing. It's really embarrassing for you, Brian.
I'm not. Alon, I'd love to know what you guys were thinking. First, Brandon got rerolled, but second, Brandon got rerolled to come at the end of the day and not the beginning, where rerolls from Friday are supposed to come.
Guys, I'm gonna paste something in a Discord, which took me, and since we've been talking about it until right now, to find. But it was one of the buggies that 40 Dog made that year, Palanquin, where it is mostly
huge windshield.
Mostly windshield.
That's amazing.
Are there any other pictures of that buggy besides this one?
Yeah, it was depicted in the poster that was given out at Design Comp a few years ago as the only KDR buggy in the whole thing.
That's
This is our
14 one?
I forget which year it was.
I would assume 2015.
What is this monstrosity?
Yes.
It's the, well, I mean, you know, it only has 3 wheels, so, you know, it can't be all bad, but...
Ooh!
Not my idea. I will continue until my dying breath to refute that was never my buggy.
It got completed while you were head mechanic or chairman, didn't it?
It got completed while I was head mechanic, and I remember my chairman turning to me, Preetham Amancharla, he's like, well, if we don't get Balias out in time, at least we've released another buggy. And I remember looking at him and going, I'm going back to the shop.
I mean, that buggy is like an amazing implementation of that thing. I think it just, I would actually like to see the... you guys never had like all the wheels the same on it, and you never like did anything to it. You know what I mean? Like there's that buggy could be opened up a little bit more.
Wait, what buggy?
I think as a concept, it was an amazing concept. I just don't think the execution was where
The execution was the best part. Are you kidding me? No way. The shell was like amazing. The brake system was amazing. I think we just never like leaned into enough.
There was functionally 2 braking systems on that buggy.
Well, wait, there were?
It was a really robust braking system, but we built the prototype 1, and then prototype 2 would have been actually taking the time and care to work on ensuring that the blades were perfect, and then actually properly going out and getting customized wheels that were built for that buggy rather than the plastic hubs of the skate wheels. And we just never pursued that.
Well, why didn't you get all those good skate? I mean, I thought the whole idea behind that and behind Bolt is that like they sell those skate wheels in stores. Like, why do you have to get custom versions of the same thing when you can get like
for
the
$20 a pop?
Right.
Yeah.
The plastic spokes for those. If you tried to magic those wheels, it just wouldn't work out.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, they do make those with metal hubs.
Also, I think there's a different way to. First of all, LOL using magic just like casually in a thing. But I think there is a way to probably heat it from the outside in that might be more straightforward.
But again, it's not a problem because they sell those wheels with metal hubs.
Really?
Yeah, I'll throw them up in the chat. Hold on.
Yeah, well, you should, Connor. Been sitting on that for a couple of years.
It's
this
out
would
in
have
the
been really
public.
useful circa 2015. Where were you
Lina.
back then, Connor?
Lina, go check your Facebook chat. I promise you, I sent you links to these wheels for Bolt specifically.
Does it seem like there's
Oh.
too many chat things these days? Like I'm just throwing it
No,
out there
entirely.
that like maybe
Yes.
maybe there's too many ways to chat.
Connor, you might have done that. I'm not sure. I was too busy being the head mechanic that was like watching our budget slowly diminish. And then you probably sent me those links, and I was like, well, this is great. We're already $1,000 in the hole. What am I going to do with this?
Buy a set of $10 wheels.
Yeah, I thought that was the whole point, is that it was like a budget saving like commodity wheel move.
Not when you release 2 buggies in 1 year, guys.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. It would have been a fantastic idea had we not fundamentally changed up our entire budgetary structure by making 2 buggies that year.
There's just such a lack of intensity when it's one team racing. This is why we're never going to do time trials.
It's a good roll.
That's a lie. That's not why we would do
Solid
it.
backup time as well. Like I said, if they put up that 1 minute time, they would have been right in there at
It's
28.
boring.
They were about 57.
Rerolls are definitely less exciting.
Oh.
By the way, not that I wanted to cut off that conversation, but we did talk through Allison's amazing passive spirit in the shoot during men's Heat 5.
That's true.
So hopefully those of you watching, I see there were some comments in the chat about it, so you guys all saw it. But yeah,
X1.
that one was Ascension. That was CI.
Ascension
But
passing
Gotcha.
spirit, yeah. Allison's second near pass of the day in the shoot.
KD mode.
did X1 ever pass a buggy? I mean, I guess it had to for pass test, but
I think that might be the only one.
X1, compliments to it. The shell was spectacular, and it had this beautiful way of just kind of drifting through the chute that I haven't seen in any kind of other buggy since.
Aubrey will be the first to tell you that it's the best shell that she's ever worked on or seen, which I actually strongly agree with. The shell was extremely good.
Oh yeah, the shell was fantastic. There was a lot of "we built that too well" conversations going on in the shop that year.
I wonder. I'm replying to Dia in the thing. Why don't, if it had a decent reroll, why don't you use it more? Like, are you succumbing to peer pressure? Are you guys like?
so
There's
can't
a
use
lot
it
of
again.
different reasons why logistically X1. I mean, if you go back in the records, you could just take a look at. I'm forgetting the buggy off the top of my head, but I think it was not Borealis, but Bristol. It's the same issue with Bristol that Bristol had. It was an amazing concept at the time, but logistically, the wear and tear of that buggy, trying to take care of it, along with a series of reverse strike buggies at the same time, we had to have an entirely separate tool bag for it, which I'm not saying is a huge issue. I'm just saying that when you come up with a...
I was going to say, I think we might be operating with a superset of knowledge as to why Bristol was difficult to operate with. I'm not sure if you want to reveal that to the larger chat. Like, I know what you're talking about, but
yeah, you come up with new concept and ideas for buggies, but eventually you have to come down to the maintenance of that buggy and continuing to roll it. And if you just don't have the time, the effort, or even the knowledge passed down, sometimes that knowledge gets lost.
So you're not going to tell people what Bristol's deal is?
No, I'm not going to tell people what Bristol's deal is. What do you think this is, amateur hour?
I mean, it's like this is my first time trying to pull a Buggy secret out of somebody.
There
So
are
I sent
easier
those.
marks to use.
That's true. That's true. Elena is like the like the boss, like the boss level version of that.
I sent those wheels over in the chat. So some of them were for inline speed skating. They've gone from a set of 4 wheels to a set of 3 wheels. It's the most common way that inline speed skaters race these days. So the wheels are slightly larger than what Bolt used. Rather than 110 mil, they're 125 mil. And then there is cross country skiing on land, roller
Oh, I've
skis.
seen those.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, but like, but these wheels are shitty, right? Like that's the deal with them. Like
Have they been
they're
tested?
no, like, well, metal, probably almost certainly not, but
So then how do you
like
know if they're shitty or not?
because the normal ones is that they had like, I guess there are known quantities. What I'm saying, like, you know about the manufacturing process, you know like the DNA behind it, and you know like their heritage, right? These you don't know anything about except for the fact that they have like metal. Like as far as I see these, it's like, oh great, they're. I'll order some for Apex. We'll see.
Look, I have to imagine that anything that is, you know, a wheel that is meant to be as low rolling resistance as possible is something that, whether or not it's going to be the fastest thing on the course, right? So like for STC, these wheels probably don't make any sense because they're probably spending a lot of money to get a good set of wheels, and those wheels are just fast. But for like a new team that's starting up, your options are like Zooters, or do you build your first buggy to take smaller wheels that will give you a better performance than a Zooter, but they're not going to compete with the top level teams?
Zooters. You take Zooters. Like you take, right, because like there are commodity wheels that are Zooter sized that you can put in there.
Or now, because I know this year that a lot of people had a hard time getting anything out of Derek when it came to ZEs, and it seems like he may be just done making them, which will make it very difficult to have a commodity wheel.
Is it because collectively we're all the worst people when we deal with our wheel suppliers? Where it's like we're all the most neurotic humans in the world. Can you imagine being Derek and like fielding insanity from 10 different teams?
But like his wheels just also aren't competitive anymore. And he claims that they are. He's like, oh, everything's fine. They're great. They're great. Pike rolled 2 seconds slower than SDC last year. That's why they lost.
Sounds like a Pike problem.
I think it's a wheel. Like, if anybody knows how to prep a buggy to roll fast on race day, it's Pike. They have 98 years of history doing that.
What last year was the issue, you said? Like last year they were slower?
Last year, they were 2 seconds slower. They did not use the small wheels. They went to bigger wheels last year, and if I'm not mistaken, they're 0 error wheels, and they were 2 seconds slower than SDC.
Willie's only response.
Willie, yeah. Can we please change the subject?
Willie, I apologize in advance that I pay way too much attention to a sport that does not matter. But like the facts are the facts. You guys lost on the free roll, and
I don't buy it though.
By 2 seconds.
You can set a course record on ZE wheels, right? Like
you could in the past.
You're saying like the new ones are shitty?
I'm saying 100%. The wheels that are out now are worse than the wheels he was making back in like 2008 to 2012.
Well, probably with the added advantage that they don't come off the rim for
that could be part of it. That absolutely could be part of it.
It's really a trade-off that you're gonna wanna make.
So I just noticed something in this heat that is entirely separate to every conversation we've ever had that I was only mildly annoyed at this year. This year being the 2015 year and not this year being 2020. In that, in 2015, it was Buggy's 95th, which we were playing up a little bit. We had the poster that year and we had the cake, and that was mostly it. But I just remember seeing the I 25 year banners that they had up everywhere. Like they had, I'm gonna go find them just because I remember seeing them and being like, why don't we have those for 95 years? And I mean, I've backed off of that a little bit at this point, but the fact that they had these banners, and they'll come up in a second here,
About a 56-second roll for them.
all the way across Shenley Bridge and around campus. I think we get it in this next view. Yeah, it's going to come up right in the corner here. I just, like, knowing what they cost now, and like for putting them up this year. I guess it's nice. I know that's.
What are you talking
about?
Wait, you want banners? You want more banners?
Well, the fact that they had so many, and knowing what it cost to put them up. There, these guys, right over here, like just those little banners, right? Those are not cheap banners to put up as many as they had up. Like they covered like.
Where did you just post that thing?
I paused in the video.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't post it anywhere. I just paused the video. These little street post banners. I was like, hey, why don't we get some of those for this year? Because I saw them go up, and yeah, they had probably 30 or to 50 of those up across various places, and that was probably like $100,000 to put into that, or something like that. I mean, we had a little extra for security, but they're not cheap.
Some extremely rich ass FedEx business center out there. It's like, here comes the INI, guys.
Yeah.
One thing I liked about this video that I think is underrated is that they put the year by the finish line.
Yes.
Like, that's cool. Like they wrote it on the ground.
Cool.
That's useful.
Instead of finish.
Yeah.
A couple of things I wanted to quickly point out. One, this Spirit A reroll did not actually count. They granted the reroll to just because they could do that and then decide later if they deserve the reroll. They did not, and they ended up being DQ'd for the push bar in their original heat. SIGF here is just an exhibition. I don't know why you combine a reroll and an exhibition, but I guess you do that.
Because they really wanted to roll and they missed their heat earlier, right? Something like that.
What is the exhibition that they're doing? Like, they just have 5 randos that really wanted to push?
And then there was something else I was going to say, but I don't remember what it was. So it couldn't have been anything important.
Connor, where did you get all these shirts?
Where did I get? Well, the Pioneer shirt was in the Apex shop, and then I got an SDC shirt from Mike Darcy. You were about, but it was about 5 sizes too large for me, so that's fine.
Wait, you cut out there. I give you the KDR shirt?
Either you or Dauber, one of the two of you guys.
That's possible.
You showed up literally the morning of finals. You said, put this on and wear it. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a good thing for me to do.
That's not a very good fraternity brother thing for me to do, but it's fine.
And then Fringe, I think I bought the Fringe shirts. I had a Spirit shirt given to me by a Spirit alum. And then, what else did I have? CIA. Jerry Carlson gave me one, and then I bought a sweatshirt. And I think that's about it. I don't really have any of the frats, because I don't really know anybody in the frats, to be honest.
They tend to be cagey about letting people wear letters, except apparently if you're me. So. All right, guys, I'm gonna dip. I gotta go.
Yeah.
Yep,
well,
same as well.
That's we finished the race day. Thank you guys for joining us. That was a cool 3-hour stream that we did there. So my computer held up; it did not crash. So join us next week for 2016. What was that?
That was the other thing. Was people couldn't drink their whole drink because your computer held up the whole time.
Right. I'm sorry. I'm making you guys not drink as much as you want. That sounds like a personal problem. All right. So yeah, join us next week. I think we're sticking with the 5 o'clock time. That seems to be working for people. So we'll stick it there unless we hear otherwise, and then unless you hear otherwise. So next Friday at 5, we've got 2016 coming up. Catch you guys next week.